Chapter 1103. Chapter 1098. The 6-inch. I didn't expect such figures to be born in the old world. Compared to them, Zhou Yang, Wei Jia, and even the previous Zhao Jiangshan, as well as many other outstanding figures, aren't even worth mentioning. Seeing the 6 figures appear in the mirror world, the 4th Gu Huasha had to admit that their strength and destiny were practically invincible. They even vaguely surpassed him. These 6 people were the supreme figures condensed from the current great era. They had an invincible destiny. Out of the 3,000 possible protagonists of the old world, these 6 had appeared. As for which of these 6 would be the final protagonist, no one knew. If I can refine these 6, I'll truly be invincible. I might very well be able to completely contend against Gu Chunsha, said the 4th Gu Huasha. Let's suppress and kill the 4 misters first, said the New World's will, Gu Xinjian. Let's do it quickly. The 4th Gu Huasha made an appointment with the New World's will, Gu Xinjian. His body changed again and he disappeared. My lord, what do we do next? Zhang Xiangong came to his senses at this moment. He deeply felt the difference between his strength and these important figures. A strong sense of indignation rose in his heart. He roared in the depths of his heart, Gu Huasha, how dare you humiliate me like this today? I swear I'll kill you. I, Zhang Xiangong, am the true protagonist, the true supreme existence. The other protagonists have all been killed by me. Devour. Right now, I'm naturally cooperating with Gu Huasha. That person is quite talented, but he won't live for long. I can already see that his future is extremely miserable. It's very likely that he'll be devoured by a newcomer and destroyed. As for whether or not it's you, I can't tell. The will of the new world, Gu Xinjian, had a playful smile on his face. This man is ambitious, but unfortunately, he chose the wrong path. His lawless plan is actually a hindrance to the progress of all living beings, and it will never succeed. But in the process, I can use this opportunity to deal a heavy blow to the will of the old world, and even Gu Chunsha. If you do well, you can reach the undying realm in a single step, and once you reach the undying realm, you won't have to suffer the humiliation you suffered today. I will definitely reach the undying realm. Zhang Xiangong swore. Buzz, the 2 of them also disappeared in a flash. The destiny of heaven and earth is changing again. Zhou Yang, who was in a castle, made some calculations and discovered many things. Mr. Zhou Yang, what's wrong? A mysterious smile appeared on Li Fuxing's face. The destiny of heaven and earth is changing. There seems to be a big movement, but after the river of destiny collapsed, it's not convenient for me to calculate anymore. Zhou Yang frowned. I feel that this matter has a huge impact on me. Who is it? What is it? Could it be that Gu Chunsha is doing something big again? But he's always been a bystander, and now he's less and less involved in the affairs of the multiverse. It shouldn't be him, so who is it? Mr. Zhou Yang, what we need to do now is to keep devouring the main character candidates of the old world. Unfortunately, after so long, I've found that the main character candidates of the old world are getting fewer and fewer. There's almost no one left, but there isn't a single strong person in the world. What's going on? Li Fuxing was also a main character candidate of the old world, but unfortunately, he didn't seem to find a similar person to devour, causing his cultivation to stagnate. The old world is getting bigger and bigger. After the river of destiny collapsed, the karma threads are completely gone. Even though I'm in the undying realm, I can't control the situation. It's even more difficult to find any clues. I feel like the water in a pond has been stirred up. No one can tell what kind of big fish or dragon will emerge from it. It's so annoying. Zhou Yang was indeed not feeling well. Although he had been restricted by the river of fate, he had been able to use the clues in the river to divine many things. But now both of his eyes were in the dark. The workings of heaven were in chaos. Then we can only take things slow and steady, and keep expanding our territory. Gather destiny and rebuild order. Li Fuxing said, since the river of fate has collapsed, then we can rebuild it in our own territory. Gu Dusha created a river of fate in the multiverse, including all living beings. Even Undying Realm experts can't escape his control. We don't have the ability to do that, but we can rebuild it in our own territory and take in the areas we control. That's a good idea. As our territory expands, we can build the River of Destiny. We'll be able to get a lot of information. Zhou Yang nodded. Suddenly, a wave of power spread out and a small river was born. This small river was the River of Fate, a place that he and Li Fuxing jointly controlled. Right now, they had control over a large area of the old world and countless dimensions. With the help of the bureaucracy, the two of them could build up the people's trust and influence and expand the River of Fate. As expected, the small River of Destiny was born, and countless heroes could be seen within it. Very good. Interesting. If I hadn't created the River of Destiny, I wouldn't have known that there were such powerful existences in my territory. Li Fuxing looked closely and realized that some of the powerful existences had been hiding. But now they could no longer hide, and had appeared in his territory. Some of them were even close to the level of the main characters of the old world. How could there be such powerful existences? Li Fuxing was shocked. Destiny is in chaos, Zhou Yang said. The will of the old world can no longer control the situation. In the future, countless experts will be born. For example, I'm just an accident. You can't let your guard down in your empire. If you don't manage it well, it might be overthrown. Even I would be in danger of being killed. Once he reached the invincible deathless level, he would be at the peak of heaven and earth, and no one would be able to do anything to him. But after the River of Destiny had exploded, the world had been thrown into chaos, and countless powerful experts had been born. Back when the Central Divine Prefecture and the Heaven Realm had still existed, there had been many fortuitous encounters, and many heroes had appeared. Later, the human world had been born, and the multiverse had been born. Now, the new world and the old world were at odds. The River of Destiny had exploded, and some strange things had been born. Back then, Zhou Yang had been unable to control the situation, and had instinctively sensed danger. In the face of this danger, he could only control people, expand his territory, establish a powerful destiny, and strengthen his foundation. Damn it, if Gu Huasha hadn't secretly helped Wei Jia steal my Central Plains world, I could have refined the Central Plains universe into a magical treasure, an invincible deathless treasure that would be far stronger than the average invincible deathless expert. Unfortunately, Gu Huasha and Wei Jia merged into the old world, and I didn't get any benefit. When he thought about how his home had been taken by that junior Wei Jia, Zhou Yang wanted to tear him to shreds. Unfortunately, it was useless. If he ran into Gu Huasha and Wei Jia, he probably wouldn't be a match for them. After the River of Destiny had exploded, almost all of the experts had begun to work hard and rapidly develop themselves. The multiverse had entered a period of rapid growth. Before anyone knew it, another 1,000 years had passed. After the River of Destiny had exploded, not even the major powers knew how many experts had been born in the multiverse. During this time, the fourth, Gu Huasha and Wei Jia had completed their plans, and had begun to spread their net against Mr. Ineffectual, Mr. Heartless, Mr. Ineffectual, and Mr. Thoughtless. In the skies above the multiverse, within a kingdom of nothingness, the fourth, Gu Huasha, Wei Jia, and Zhang Xiangong were present. The will of the new world. Gu Xinjian. After 1,000 years, I've finally finished my preparations. The fourth, Gu Huasha, said, my Taoist formless diagram has been successfully refined, but this subordinate of yours has yet to reach the invincible deathless realm. He's stuck at the most critical juncture. How useless! You. Zhang Xiangong was seething with anger, but there was nothing he could do. In truth, the fourth, Gu Huasha, had intentionally said that Zhang Xiangong was useless not to create hatred, but to sow discord between Zhang Xiangong and Gu Xinjian. He could already tell that Zhang Xiangong didn't want to submit to Gu Xinjian's suppression, just like how Gu Xinjian didn't want to be controlled by Gu Chensha. Zhang Xiangong was an ambitious person, and he had a rebellious streak in his mind. The more the fourth, Gu Huasha, humiliated him, the more he hated the New World's will, Gu Xinjian. Zhang Xiangong even had thoughts of devouring Gu Xinjian. All right. The New World's will, Gu Xinjian, didn't seem to have any reaction. Let's begin. In truth, he didn't feel anything about the fourth, Gu Huasha, trying to sow discord. On the contrary, he found it laughable. The way he saw it, Zhang Xiangong was nothing more than a pawn, not even a slave. He definitely wouldn't care about what Gu Huasha thought. Moreover, Zhang Xiangong himself was actually a vessel. At the most critical moment, the New World's will, Gu Xinjian, would devour him, turning him into a human with his own soul. In any case, Zhang Xuangong's fate was sealed. He was nothing more than a vessel. Whoosh! The fourth, Gu Huasha, activated his Taoist formless diagram, which enveloped the void. The four great sirs are hiding here. They won't be able to escape this time. Baidu search keywords, bookpalm pp, or directly visit the official website and hashtag. Chapter 1104. Chapter 1099. The fall of Mr. 4-inch. It's been so many years, but Mr. 4 hasn't improved at all. How pitiful. That's the downside of not having a mind of your own. Fourth Brother Guasha looked into the depths of the void, feeling a little disdain in his heart. At the same time, he looked at the New World's will, Gu Xinjian, and said, "This person does not have a soul of his own, but he has the existence of the New World in his body, which means he possesses great power at all times. This is incomparable. If Mr. 4 build their own world and break away from the shackles of the old world, becoming a king with their own strength, they would have endless power." The Mr. 4's power hadn't grown since they were born. They had plenty of ways to increase their power, the most reliable of which was to establish their own universe and become the lord of the universe. Then, they could slowly gather destiny and devour other existences. Unfortunately, they were born from the will of the old world, and were created to support the main characters in the future. They couldn't establish their own universe and fight against the will of the old world. As a result, their power couldn't improve. Being a loyal subject of the will of the old world means death. The fourth Gu Huasha thought, but Mr. 4 is still the most important subject of the will of the old world. If they die and I refine them, the will of the old world won't be able to control the situation. That's why the will of the old world will come out to stop me at the most critical moment. It might even want to kill me. But I've roped in Gu Xinjian, so he'll definitely find a way to injure the will of the old world. That way, the two wills will have to fight, and if they both get hurt, I can devour them and push the skyless Taoist formation to its limit. When that happens, not even Gu Chensha will be a match for me. Of course, Gu Xinjian won't let me off easy. He probably wants to devour me as well. The fourth Gu Huasha was at the invincible deathless level, and was extremely important to both the wills of the old and new world. He was an unusual chess piece. Rumble. The fourth Gu Huasha finished preparing the skyless Taoist formation, and with a sudden movement, space-time shattered to reveal a dimension in which Mr. 4 appeared. Gu Huasha. When Mr. Wu Wu saw the lawless formation diagram, his expression turned ugly. When he saw the will of the New World, Gu Xinjian, he was even more shocked. New World will. That's right, that's me. The will of the New World, Gu Xinjian, laughed. Mr. Wu Wu, Mr. Wuxin, Mr. Wu Wei, Mr. Wuxiang, stop struggling. Just follow me obediently. I can still increase your strength. How about that? Don't even think about it. We won't betray our mother. The will of the old world has already been born, and the main character will soon appear. You won't be able to live for long. I think you should abide by the rules of the old world and give up everything. That way you can still obtain some status. Cut the crap. The fourth Mr. Gu Huasha suddenly closed the array diagram. Instantly, time and space changed, and a huge array enveloped the four misters. Then, a ferocious smile appeared on his face. If this was 1,000 years ago, when my array was just completed, there might still be some loopholes and it might not be able to proceed smoothly. Unfortunately, I purposely delayed the activation of the array for 1,000 years. Now, when the conditions are right, it will be completed. In these 1,000 years, if this chapter isn't finished, please flip, message, already subscribed to NT Remember mobile website, Chapter 1105. Chapter 345. Drastic change. Wei Jia had been deceived by the fourth Gu Huasha and had been injected with some extremely powerful forbidden arts, causing him to be completely subservient to the fourth Gu Huasha. He had practically become a puppet. In the past 1,000 years, he had been conscientious, doing things for the fourth. He had no thoughts of betrayal, and it was impossible for him to betray the fourth. This was because as long as he had any thoughts of betrayal, the fourth Gu Huasha would immediately find out and completely suppress him. He would never be able to rise again. Therefore, in the past 1,000 years, the fourth Gu Huasha had been very at ease with Wei Jia. In fact, his trust in Wei Jia grew stronger and stronger. Who would have thought that Wei Jia would suddenly attack him now? Moreover, Wei Jia's strength seemed to have increased by tens of times during this attack. In the blink of an eye, he had broken through the fourth Gu Huasha's defenses and deeply injured his origin. The fourth Gu Huasha let out an earth-shattering scream. He could feel his origin energy rapidly flowing away. The power of his spirit was concealed by a powerful seal, unable to flow out to him. In this case, he had been switched to the source of eternal energy, and he was naturally in a precarious situation. Wei Jia, you actually dared to betray me. Go to hell. The fourth Gu Huasha was in extreme danger. However, at this moment, his strength was revealed. He immediately activated his own restrictions. Unfortunately, the restriction he had left in Wei Jia's body had no effect at all. It had disappeared without a trace. Wei Jia continued his attack, ruthlessly destroying the fourth Gu Huasha's body. Refine. The fourth Gu Huasha's body suddenly emitted waves of flames. As the flames burned, they transformed into his most powerful divine ability. This was his skyless Taoist flames. The moment the flames appeared, they enveloped Wei Jia and burned fiercely. Wei Jia's entire body sizzled as if he was about to be refined. Wei Jia's expression was equally sinister. Will of the old world, hurry up and help me. Rumble. Behind him, an endless amount of power gathered, turning into the shadow of the will of the old world. It was none other than a mortal trampling ancient. Rumble. Gu Taxian rolled over, pointing at the sky and stomping on the ground. With one punch, he arrived in front of the fourth Gu Huasha. The fourth's entire body of flames exploded, and the skyless Taoist formation started to shake. Why the old world's will? At that moment the fourth once again suffered heavy injuries. However, when he saw Gu Taxian, who was formed by the old world's will, he immediately fell into an unexpected despair. This was because the person who had just shouted was the will of the new world, Gu Xingjian. He thought that Gu Xingjian had caused Wei Jia to rebel, but now the old world's will, Gu Taxian, had appeared behind Wei Jia. This meant that the new world's will, Gu Xingjian, and the old world's will, Gu Taxian, had joined forces to deal with him. If it was just one of them, he might still have a chance of survival, but now that there were two of them, he had almost no hope at all. Why? Why are you two irreconcilable wills working together? The fourth Gu Huasha had shrunk into a ball. He had suffered heavy injuries and no longer had any ability to fight back. He could only protect himself from being killed. This time, he had truly miscalculated. Once he miscalculated, it was very likely that he would be sacrificing his life. Gu Huasha, you guessed correctly. The two of us have temporarily joined forces. At that moment, the old world's will, Gu Xinjian, walked in and entered the formation. He stood opposite the old world's will, Gu Taxian, and sandwiched the fourth Gu Huasha in the middle. Of course, the old world's will was only in the form of Gu Taxian. It was not the heavenly talisman Great Emperor Gu Taxian from back then. It was another kind of existence. The two of you will have to fight sooner or later to determine the victor. Aren't you afraid that the other party will bite back at you if you join forces? The fourth Gu Huasha knew that at this time, it was best for the two wills to fight against each other. Only then could he escape. If the two wills joined forces against him, he would definitely die today. If not for Gu Chencha's existence, I naturally wouldn't dare to join forces with him. The New World's will, Gu Xinjian, laughed. However, Gu Huasha, you roped me in to suppress the four misters together because you wanted me to fight against the old world's will. Then, you can take advantage of it, right? Your intentions are so vicious, but it's a pity that everything you want, we also want to get. Let's join forces to suppress you first. The two of you. The fourth Gu Huasha also laughed. In the face of such a dangerous situation, he actually did not feel afraid or retreat. No matter what, he had to hold on. Even if you suppress and kill me, what benefits will there be? You should know that your enemy is not me, but Gu Chensha. Gu Chensha is 1,000 times more dangerous than me. After you kill me, Gu Chensha will have one less restraint. You want to hold Gu Chensha back? The old world's will, Gu Taxian's form, said disdainfully. You were originally chosen by me, but unfortunately, you failed to live up to expectations. Not only did you betray me, but you were also toyed with by Gu Chensha. Your existence is actually just to provide resources for Gu Chensha. Gu Chensha has long treated you as a test subject. Your every move is actually under his control. Even if you master the skyless Taoist formation, Gu Chensha will gain more. Impossible. The fourth Gu Huasha roared. You two, Gu Chensha and I are sworn enemies. I will definitely kill him, suppress him, and never let him rise again. Also, if you kill me, there is no benefit at all. With your current strength, it is impossible for you to kill me. Devouring me and refining me will improve. Instead, you will become human. I will be of great help to you. I can even help you become human. How about it? With your current strength, even if you join forces, you will not be a match for Gu Chensha. Only when you become human can you pose a threat to Gu Chensha. You're right. The old world's will, Gu Taxian, nodded. We indeed need to become human. However, you will still have to die. The new world's will, Gu Xinjian, said. Gu Huasha, as you improve, it will be very dangerous for us. You might even be a threat to us. Alright, old world, let's bury this person together. Indeed, there is no benefit. The old world's will, Gu Taxian, did not make a move. Instead, a sinister smile appeared on his face. Since you have entered this formation, that is for the best. After all, this Gu Huasha was created by me in the past. Even if he dies, I must do it. Furthermore, now that you have entered this formation, it is the best opportunity for me to create. Activate. Just at this moment, the old world's will, Gu Taxian's body, began to unleash its strongest power. Boom. Landslides, tsunamis, and cosmic tides were not enough to describe a 10,000th of its power. The essence of this lawless and Taoist formation still belongs to the old world, not the new world. Mr. 4, merge into it. Yes. At this moment, Mr. Wu, Mr. Wuxin, Mr. Wue, and Mr. Wuxiang immediately moved. They turned into runes and merged into the lawless and Taoist formation. This time, they sacrificed themselves to complete the formation. The old world's will, Gu Taxian, suppressed the formation and turned it into his own. He turned it into a rule and the strongest heaven's will. The entire multiverse is lawless. Everyone who has cultivated to the heavens will realm must merge into it. This is a good idea. I will use your hands to complete this magnificent feat. The old world's will, Gu Taxian, said to the new world's will, Gu Xinjian, you will die here today. Quite impressive. The new world's will, Gu Xinjian, had a solemn expression, but I don't think you will believe that you want to die here. Just watch. The old world's will, Gu Taxian, said, Gu Huasha will merge into this formation. Don't you know how powerful this formation will be? Guasha, you created this formation yourself. Unfortunately, you've also cultivated to the invincible deathless level, so you'll have to fuse with it. You've created your own trap, and you're inviting yourself into a trap. At this moment, the old world's will, Gu Taxian, pressed down with his palm. A huge hand that was countless times larger than the universe fiercely pressed down, suppressing the fourth, Gu Huasha. Then, waves of power wrapped around him, causing his body to gradually turn into countless runes. These runes also wrapped around him and merged into the formation. The old world's will, Gu Taxian, was so ruthless that he merged the fourth, Gu Huasha, into it as well. This was truly inviting the enemy into a trap. No, I definitely won't merge into this formation. The fourth, Gu Huasha, went all out. He knew that once he was suppressed into the formation's core, he would immediately meet the fate of being destroyed. He knew very well how powerful his formation was. He had operated it for 1,000 years and refined it to the acme of perfection. Now, he was actually going to become a sacrifice for the formation's birth. At this moment, the new world's will, Gu Xinjian, seemed to be watching quietly. He did not panic at all, nor did he make a move to stop the old world's will, Gu Taxian. Your desperation is useless. The old world's will, Gu Taxian, watched Gu Huasha struggle and gathered his power. He was the old world's supreme will. No matter how powerful Gu Huasha was, he was no match for him. Old world, do you really think you can control everything? Just as the fourth, Gu Huasha, was about to be refined, the new world's will, Gu Xinjian, said, This multiverse is not what you think it is. Some things that are out of our control have also come. As soon as he finished speaking, many supreme and immortal auras suddenly descended. Among them, the most tyrannical were 6. These 6 supreme and immortal auras represented the 6 strongest people. They were the mutated ones that the New World had observed back then. In other words, they had escaped his control, Gu Taxian's control, and even Gu Chench's control. These 6 people were Zhou Qin, Wang Chao, Hong Yi, Fang Han, Yang Qi, and Jiang Li. Chapter 1106. The 6 great invincibles. Ever since the old world had taken form, it had stood in opposition to the new world. The new world had continuously created all sorts of universes and stuffed them into the space-time of the multiverse like blowing bubbles, while the old world had continuously absorbed them. One created, the other absorbed. This was equivalent to opposing yin and yang. In this process of opposition, countless characters had been born. In particular, the various characters of the old world had surged like a storm. Needless to say, there were all sorts of main character candidates who had done many world-shaking things. There were also some who were even stronger than the main character candidates who had actually ascended to the undying realm. Among them, the 6 strongest were Zhou Qin, Wang Chao, Hong Yi, Fang Han, Yang Qi, and Jiang Li. These 6 people had been minor characters in the many dimensions of the old world. However, they had suddenly risen and quickly become unparalleled overlords. Moreover, they were all extremely shrewd and possessed unimaginable divine abilities. They were skilled at scheming, and their providence was so strong that it had reached an almost undefeatable realm. It could be said that these 6 people were the true main characters. Ever since they were young, no matter who tried to deal with them, they basically did not have a good ending. Even when they were insignificant ants and unparalleled overlords tried to deal with them, they were inexplicably killed, and the benefits were reaped by them. It was as if they had been enveloped by some sort of creation power and cheated in all aspects. No matter how difficult or desperate the situation was, they would always find a way out. Now, these 6 people had all become unparalleled overlord. They could even know all sorts of variables in the world. When the will of the new world and the will of the old world fought, the commotion was simply too great, and it might affect the future of the universe. At the same time, these people had also sensed that a great formation was gradually being born. This formation was a great threat to them, and it might even suppress their strength. Therefore, they had all activated their powers and bombarded the formation. Moreover, they could sense that if this formation was in their hands, they would most likely advance a step further and become an even more powerful existence. Immediately, the situation was chaotic. Countless powers surged about, and the world was in chaos. They've started fighting. In the new world, Gu Qinsha, Lu Baiwei, the martial sage, Zhuge Ye, and Wen Hong watched the largest commotion in the void. Gu Qinsha had shown all the details. Lu Baiwei said, "Qinsha, do you want to save the 4th? This time, the 4th is probably destined to die. It's also because he couldn't think things through and insisted on competing with you. In the end, he didn't have enough power and forcefully cultivated this skyless Taoless formation, which is why he ended up in such a state. The 4th can't be saved. If he hadn't forcefully cultivated this skyless Taoless formation, he could have lived a carefree life. But in order to surpass me, he cultivated this formation and lost all of his destiny. Think about it, once this formation was completed, it robbed all living beings of their chance to reach the heavenly Tao. That's like obstructing the advancement of all living beings. Somehow, the fates of all living beings will bite back at him. Add to that the fact that he's devoured hundreds of millions of heavenly Tao experts over the past 1,000 years, and even though he succeeded in creating the formation, he's committed too great a sin. This is a sin brought upon by heaven, but a sin brought upon by one's own self. I actually gave him a chance to live, but the 4th brought this upon himself. Gu Qinsha sighed. Back in the day, the 4th was actually very proud and arrogant. He was ranked number 1 among all the princes, but unfortunately, I suppressed him. Back in the Celestial Pacification Bureau, we were able to work together. But after the Emperor of Heaven was born, because of the Emperor of Heaven, he gradually grew apart from me. When I learned of this, I tried to salvage the situation. I gave him many chances, but in the end, he became the Nihility ancestor, and gained some enlightenment on his own, which led him further and further away from me. In the end, he reached a point where he couldn't be saved. But now that he's died cultivating this formation, it's a good thing. The formation itself is a skyless Taoless formation, and he's in the deathless realm. During the past 1,000 years, the old world has grown larger and larger. Wen Hong said, compared to the old world of 1,000 years ago, it's more than 100 times larger. Heroes are popping up like bamboo shoots after a spring rain. Countless kings of destiny, and even kings among kings, have appeared. Those 6 people are the strongest kings among kings, the hegemons among hegemons. Even my fate isn't as good as theirs. If I were to fight any one of them, I'm afraid I'd lose more than I'd win. Chaos in the heavens and earth will give birth to ambitious and ruthless people. That's inevitable. I chose to detonate the river of destiny and give freedom to all living beings. That means I can't control the heavens and earth. Without that restriction, the heavens and earth will grow rapidly. Countless powerful people will emerge, which is something I expected. But first, let's see who will take control of the formation after the 4th dies. Gu Qinsha said. At this time, in the void, the 4th Gu Huasha hadn't died. When he was suppressed by the skyless Dallas formation, some deathless realm experts suddenly disrupted the situation. A few figures with boundless domineering auras arrived at the formation and burst out with their most powerful attacks. Here's my chance. The fourth Gu Huasha did his best to retract his power. Then, he turned into a pitch-black rune and tried to escape. But before he escaped, he still wanted to take his skyless Dallas formation with him. He had spent too much effort on this formation. Now, this formation had refined Mr. Incorporeal, Mr. Incorporeal, Mr. Incorporeal, and Mr. Incorporeal into it. Its power was countless times greater than before. Moreover, he felt that he had a great connection with this formation. If he could seize the opportunity, he could definitely take this formation away. As long as I take this formation away, not only will I be able to make a comeback, but my strength will also improve to the highest level. The fourth Gu Huasha was still laughing maliciously in his heart. These people are all going to benefit me. He unleashed his power into the heavenless and Taoless grand spell formation, causing it to tremble again. Massive amounts of qi flowed into Meng Hao's body, causing his injuries to heal quite a bit in the blink of an eye. Rumble! An endless amount of power descended from the sky. This power directly charged into the skyless Taoless formation and appeared in front of the fourth Gu Huasha. The fourth Gu Huasha was silently operating in the formation core. Then, he saw a person in front of him. This person was very young and wore green clothes. Faintly, there were countless fortune auras circulating around him. He was also in the deathless realm, but his strength seemed unfathomable. So, it's the creator of the formation core. Excellent. By refining this creator, I'll be able to refine the entire formation. The green-robed young man looked at the fourth Gu Huasha and laughed. Then, he reached out with his hand, causing countless green-colored flames to surround the fourth Gu Huasha. The fourth Gu Huasha immediately felt an intense pain. More than half of the vital energy he had just gathered dissipated, and he was once again in a seriously injured state. "Who are you?" the fourth Gu Huasha roared angrily. "How did you get into the formation? You must be the Nihility ancestor Gu Huasha, right?" The green-robed young man looked at him with a wide grin. Although he looked completely harmless, he didn't stop at all. Instead, he increased the intensity of his refinement. Beast! Gu Huasha did his best to fight back. Unfortunately, his injuries were too severe, and he was no match for the green-robed young man. "Zhou Qin, are you sneaking around and taking everything for yourself?" Another voice rang out. It was a white-robed young man. He exuded a domineering and sharp aura. The white-robed young man attacked as well, suppressing the fourth Gu Huasha. The fourth could sense that the white-robed young man's strength was comparable to his at his peak. In fact, it might even be stronger. Instantly, despair rose up within him. Why? Why did such a powerful figure appear in the world? Gu Huasha, you really deserve to die. Yet another red-robed young man appeared. He attacked the fourth Gu Huasha as well. Some of my subordinates have been refined by you into this formation over the past 1,000 years. Because I'm cultivating a cultivation technique to reach the invincible imperishable realm, I haven't been looking for you. And now you're going even further. You want to refine everyone who has reached the heavenly Tao realm? You're just courting death. You freaks! The fourth Gu Huasha said. You've fallen into a trap. The wills of the old and new worlds have used me as bait to lure you into a trap. Now that you've entered, you won't be able to leave. You'll have to fuse into this formation like me. That's right. At that moment, the will of the new world, Gu Xinjian, and the will of the old world, Gu Taxian, also appeared in the formation core. Then, the entire formation core shrank violently. There were more than 10 people in the formation core. They were all people who had barged into the formation core. Among them were Zhou Qin, Wang Chao, Hong Yi, Fang Han, Yang Qi, and Jiang Li. There were also the fourth Gu Huasha, Wei Jia, Zhang Xiangong, Tang Chuan, Zhou Yang, and 3 others who seemed to have reached the invincible imperishable realm. Many people with lower cultivation bases might not be able to sense the battle that had erupted here, but to the invincible imperishable realm cultivators, it was very obvious. Therefore, all those who had reached the invincible imperishable realm in the multiverse had rushed over. The other 3 who had reached the invincible imperishable realm were not from the old world, but from the new world. Chapter 1107. Chapter 1102. Old or New World. Chapter 1102. Old or New World. Zhou Qin, Wang Chao, Hong Yi, Fang Han, Yang Qi, and Jiang Li were not in their true forms, but rather their clones. They were all at the undying realm, and possessed invincible qi potentials. Naturally, they would hold back no matter what. However, even though they were clones, their strength was still at the undying realm. Furthermore, the 6 of them were not enemies, but vaguely working together. That was terrifying. Rumble. In the blink of an eye, a powerful battle erupted in the eye of the formation. Not good. The 4th Gu Huasha's heart sank to the bottom. He was like a child right now. He couldn't use any of his power in front of these people. It wasn't that he wasn't strong enough, but that he was wounded. He was really unlucky this time. Things didn't go well at all. Not good. Zhou Yang was also involved in the battle. He wanted to see what was going on here, and then take the entire formation. That would be like ascending to the heavens in one step. Any expert at the supreme immortal realm knew how important this formation was. It could manipulate fortune, reverse fate, and defy the laws of heaven and earth. Once you mastered it, you could even obtain some kind of supreme ability. For example, if Zhou Yang was at the undying realm, after obtaining this formation, he would be able to take on at least 10 experts at the same level as him. In other words, he would be 10 times stronger. It's time. Zhou Yang sacrificed his power in the midst of the chaotic battle. Beams of mysterious light shone behind his head. It was the combination of the will of the old world and the new world. Back then, Zhou Yang had been able to reach the supreme immortal realm because Gu Qinsha and the will of the old world had infused into each other. Each of them had a system in his body. Over the years, he had bitterly cultivated and comprehended. Finally, he had refined the foundations of these 2 great systems and made them his. After that, he had completely fused them with his soul. With just a slight movement, he could unleash unparalleled power. The key to refining this formation is Gu Huasha, because Gu Huasha is the creator of this formation. Zhou Yang's body kept transforming. He hid and connected with Gu Huasha's mind. At this moment, the 4th brother Guasha was in grave danger. Gu Huasha, you are in danger. You can die at any moment, Zhou Yang said. Zhou Yang said, why don't you work with me? I can preserve your consciousness, and you'll have a chance to be reborn. As long as you give up on yourself and fuse with the formation, I'll refine you and you'll be able to escape this tribulation. At that time, I'll resurrect you. What do you think? Zhou Yang, you reckless thing. Lowly thing. You are worse than a slave. The 4th Gu Huasha looked down on Zhou Yang. In his mind, Zhou Yang was just a test subject for Gu Qinsha. How could he fight against him? But now, Zhou Yang wanted to refine him and make him the weapon spirit of his treasure. How could he tolerate that? Gu Huasha, you are the one who doesn't know what's good for you. This chapter is not finished. Please turn the page. Message, subscribed. Website. Chapter 1108. The 3 forces hum, hiss hiss hiss, hiss hiss hiss. Gu Qinsha could only feel waves of changes in the true meaning of knowledge surging towards him. All sorts of experimental data were gathered into his pyramid-shaped module. The module itself was already very sturdy. Undying was the 10th level, and the Undying Realm level was already more than half complete. Now that the true meaning of knowledge was surging towards him, the 10th level module was already 80% complete. It's not the old or the new world. Gu Chensha smiled. It looks like these variables have become my resources. I created the new world and purposely let it grow, and some ambitious people that I can't control have been born. But because of this, the more variables there are, the more solid the undying foundation will be. Looks like as long as I continue to accumulate and develop, I will be able to condense the module and achieve supreme opportunity. Gu Chensha was the first person to create the undying module. But after this, as long as those people created the old or new world, the structure of the world would change again. Some undying realms would also gradually walk this path, striving to catch up to Gu Chensha's footstep. They would also create modules, but this was what Gu Chensha needed. Of course, the creation of the old or new world would not necessarily change the final structure. The final structure would definitely produce the strongest existence to fight against Gu Chensha. This was what Gu Chensha himself hoped for. Whether it was the old world, the new world, or the old or new world, they would all be Gu Chensha's experimental grounds. They were all Gu Dusha's experimental grounds. These people provided all kinds of data and resources for Gu Dusha. Gu Chensha also hoped that a powerful existence would appear to fight against him, to be able to threaten him. Unfortunately, there was not a single one, not even the new world's will or the old world's. Of course, if they turned into humans by chance, they could cause some trouble for Gu Chensha, but that was all. If a main character appeared and completely killed them, absorbing the two great wills, they would be able to fight against Gu Chensha. At that time, it would be quite interesting. To Gu Chensha, he was just at the nurturing stage. Your module has been perfected once again. Lu Baiwa looked at Gu Chensha's neither nor undying module. She was also in the process of building it, but it was extremely difficult to do so. Even with her cultivation base, she was still confused. Moreover, even if Gu Chensha imparted his experience to her, it would be useless. After reaching the invincible immortal level, one would have to learn and manage things on their own. Advice from outsiders would be useless. It was because those in the undying realm had already surpassed the heavenly Daos, surpassed the creation realm. They were a form that not even the heavenly Daos could understand, an existence that had never existed before. In the past, the highest realm was the heavenly Tao. It was the absolute truth, the absolute ruler. However, after the heavenly talisman Emperor Gu Taxian fused with the heavenly Tao, a mutation occurred. The universe expanded like a balloon, expanding by trillions of times. After the mutation, the invincible undying realm was born. After that, Gu Chensha also calculated the 10th level of the undying immortal level, which made the world even more marvelous. The world was limitless, and the heavens and earth constantly developed. Gu Chensha didn't know what would happen in the future, but it was precisely because of this that it was interesting. This chapter is not finished, please continue. Message: already subscribed to NT Remember mobile website, M. Chapter 1109. The situation has changed again. Zhou Qin, Wang Chao, Hong Yi, Fang Han, Yang Qi, and Jiang Li. These 6 people were too terrifying. They seemed to have gathered all the variables in the world. Their cultivation bases were so high that they could suppress everything. Even the Supreme Immortal Realm was many times stronger than the previous Supreme Immortal Realm. Tang Chuan had become one of the upper echelons of the Old and New Worlds, and his strength had increased a lot. However, if he were to face off against one of these 6 people, he would be in danger. He did not know how these 6 people cultivated, but logically speaking, it was impossible for them to be so powerful. However, Gu Chensha was also a weirdo. He had reached the invincible realm, but no one understood how he had cultivated. That's right. We're no longer an old and new world. In the future, we'll be a tripartite balance in the multiverse. However, we're the newest to be established, so we're actually the weakest. Of course, we also have our advantages. That was, I now had absolute control over the situation in both the old and new world. Unlike the old world, which was currently extremely chaotic, the will of the new world and the creator Gu Chunxia had already turned against each other. We can learn from these two lessons and create a brand new situation, Lin Yixuan said. The 6 of them will definitely plot against our old and new world. However, what we should do now is to unite the wills of the old and new worlds, and completely eliminate the 6 of them so that we can once again integrate them into our world. Tang Chuan said, "Of course, the will of the new world and the will of the old world can both benefit greatly from this. They can become humans. I think they won't reject this plan. In fact, the current multiverse should be dominated by 5 superpowers. The old world, the new world, and us, the non-new old world. Then there are those 6 weirdos. The last one is the invincible Gu Chunxia. He can suppress the other 4 forces by himself. Then what we should do now is to unite the 4 sides and deal with Gu Chunxia." Lin Yixuan asked deliberately. It was unknown if this was his true thoughts deep in his heart. "Gu Chunxia poses no threat to us," Tang Chuan said. "He has a detached attitude. He doesn't interfere, doesn't annex, and has never suppressed or killed any existences. He seems to be letting them develop on their own and then collecting data. We are all his test subject. The will of the new world, the will of the old world, and those 6 weirdos are all different. They have their own desires, and with their desires, they can pose a threat to us. In reality, these 6 people won't be very close even if they join forces. There's also a lot of competition among them. It's possible that they'll devour each other," Lin Yixuan said. "Yes, but they are very shrewd. They know when to fight each other and when to unite." Tang Chuan said, "If my guess is correct, some of us, such as Zhou Yang, Zhang Xiangong, and Wei Jia, are plotting in secret. They're colluding with outsiders in an attempt to usurp the supreme ruler of the old and new world. I think it's better to go all out and refine these people into the new world. I plan to do that sooner or later," Lin Yixuan said, "but now the old and new worlds have just been settled. We can't act rashly. We must consolidate our foundation before we can settle the score slowly. There's no rush. This chapter is not finished. Please continue. Message: Success. Chapter 11:10. No one lives forever. There were Lin Yixuan, Zhou Yang, Tang Chuan, Wei Jia, Zhang Xiangong, Hu Bugui, and Li Shiyang. These were the 7 undying realm experts. Lin Yixuan was their absolute master. The others might have some authority, but they would all be stripped of their authority if they met Lin Yixuan. It was like an emperor who had many ministers under him. These ministers also controlled the country. When the emperor wasn't around, they could do whatever they wanted, but a single word from the emperor could strip them of their authority. Therefore, Zhou Yang still felt like he was under someone else's control. He had to change the current situation step by step. He had to bring in reinforcements to kill his opponent. Of course, he knew that Wei Jia was also planning to devour him. For Wei Jia, once he devoured Zhou Yang, his strength would increase by leaps and bounds. You have to be quick. I think one of my companions has also roped in Wei Jia. His first target will be to devour you. Zhou Qin's words made Zhou Yang nervous. Is that so? Zhou Yang was shocked. I really can't tell if the 6 of you are friends or enemies. Sometimes we are enemies and sometimes we are friends. Zhou Qin smiled. Of course, the 6 of us have one goal, and that is to suppress Gu Chunxia and refine him. Why? Zhou Yang was surprised. Although Gu Chunxia is the strongest expert in the world, he poses no threat to anyone. Do you have a grudge against him? There's no grudge. It's just that he is the strongest expert in the world, and the fact that we can suppress him means that we are the strongest. Therefore, we have to defeat him. Only by defeating him will our cultivation reach the highest level, and then we can enter another world to suppress him, Zhou Qin said. Another world? The multiverse is the only world left. Even if we reach the undying realm, we won't be able to find another world. Where did you come from? Zhou Yang asked. You can't understand this kind of realm. There is always a sky beyond the sky, and there is no end. There is always someone better than you, and there is always a higher mountain. Zhou Qin said. However, Gu Chensha represents a kind of fate, a kind of pinnacle, a kind of resource. First suppress him, then we can clearly see what is going on in the real world. Zhou Qin's words were always like this, unable to be seen or heard clearly. All right, Zhou Yang said, then let's work together and find Wei Jia's weakness. You'll help me devour him. How about it? Sure. Zhou Qin smiled. No one knew what he was thinking. At the same time, somewhere in the multiverse, Gu Chensha was looking at Chang Wei-yang, who was emanating boundless laws of the heavenly Tao, condensing into a huge cocoon. The cocoon wriggled violently, and all of a sudden, the cocoon broke apart as Chang Wei-yang walked out, emanating a boundless aura. In the end, she reached the undying realm. Back then, Chang Wei-yang was the sect master of the universe mystic sect. She was an anomaly with an extremely deep foundation. Back in the endless mainland, she was extremely strong. If this chapter is not finished, please turn the page. Chapter 11:11. No one lives forever descend. Last time, Gu Chensha had caused the river of fate to explode. Then, a bunch of peerless immortal experts appeared. As time passed, more and more peerless immortal experts would appear. Right now, cultivation is very easy in the multiverse. An ordinary person can cultivate to the Tao realm and absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to live for a few hundred years. Then, with constant improvement, in a few years they can reach the golden core realm and live for 1,000 years. After that, they can step into the magical power realm and advance all the way to the God realm. Then, they can reach the sage realm and have a lifespan of 10,000 years. This is also very simple. Breaking through to the celestial sovereign realm is also very smooth. Once you reach the heavenly longevity realm, you can basically not die. At the heaven origin realm, as long as you are not killed by external forces, you can live forever. This is very unreasonable, and there is no way for people to improve in the end. At the same time, even the undying realm had their own lifespan limit. Once my lifespan is completely exhausted, I will never be able to revive again. Gu Chensha observed the infinite worlds with a calm expression. After that, many lines appeared on his palm and seeped into countless voids. All the universes, even if they were new worlds, old worlds or not, could not escape the fate of being enveloped by these lines. Following this, all living beings, whether they were not living beings, heard a voice within their wills. In the multiverse, no one can live forever. Everything in this world is limited by longevity. All the cultivators did not know what had happened. They only felt that there was an extra voice in the depths of their hearts. This voice resounded for a moment and then fell silent. Many people felt that it was an illusion. In the old world, in the depths of a sect, many people were cultivating. Suddenly, the sect leader and the elders gaped. Everyone, do you know what happened? Did you hear anything? Sect master, we all heard it. It wasn't a hallucination. All of the elders whispered to each other, feeling incredibly shocked. Have you discovered anything strange? The headmaster asked the others. We didn't find anything out of the ordinary. The sound disappeared in an instant. There was a youth with extremely tyrannical fate energy who was the holy son of the entire sect. His aura was oppressive, but right now, he was also endlessly shocked. Suddenly, his mind stirred as he seemed to summon something. In front of him, a virtual interface appeared, and on it, his own information appeared and his name appeared. Yi Chen, the holy son of Gu Dongshan, cultivation level 3, lifespan 100 years, remaining lifespan 80 years. What is this? Yi Chen looked at the virtual interface that appeared in front of him. It actually had his exact information and even his lifespan. 100 years? What is going on? I have already cultivated to the 18th transformation of the Tao realm, the Great Tao Golden Core realm. I have a golden core in my body, so I should have 1,000 years of lifespan. Why did it shrink by 10 times? This is impossible. Who made this thing? How dare they lie to me? Yi Chen did not believe it at all. Why did the virtual panel suddenly appear before him and record data? What? At this point, the sect leader was astonished. I've cultivated to the heavenly origin stage. I'm in the undying and indestructible stage. Why? My lifespan is only 10,000 years. I've already lived for 10,000 years. It says that I can live for another 4 hours. What's going on? Some elders were shocked. That was because they also saw their own virtual panels. Their lifespan was recorded on them. The highest sect leader of Gu Dongshan was at Heavenly Origin Realm. He had lived for 10,000 years and had seen many things in the world. Of course, the formation of the old world didn't have 10,000 years. But that was for the entire multiverse. In the old world, there were many dimensions and the flow of time was different from the total flow of time in the multiverse. Only one day had passed in the multiverse while hundreds of thousands of years or even hundreds of millions of years had passed in some dimensions. Sect leader, who knows which expert is joking with us? I don't think that this is possible. Some of the elders said, according to what's recorded on our respective virtual interface, our lifespan has been greatly reduced. For example, I've already cultivated to the divine level, so I should be able to live for several thousand years. But now, the virtual interface only has a lifespan of several hundred years. I wonder how long the lifespan of an ordinary person is? Yi Chen's lifespan is only 100 years, so normal people's lifespan is only a few decades? Or even lower. I think that this is just a joke. I don't think it's that simple. The elders were all studying it. Some were trying to figure out how the panels came about. Time passed and they didn't get any result. Okay, with our cultivation, I'm afraid that we won't be able to figure anything out. The sect leader said, I should go and find our dimension master. He has already reached heavenly path and the immortal power in his body is at true immortal realm. He must know the cause and effect of this matter. While speaking, the sect leader looked at his own panel. It showed that he only had 10 breaths of time left. Does that mean that I will die in 10 breaths? The sect leader shook his head. What a joke. How is that possible? A disdainful smile appeared on his face. However, after 10 breaths of time, the panel showed that his lifespan reached 0 and he was completely dead. Boom. The virtual panel collapsed. In the blink of an eye, the sect leader's body began to crumble inch by inch, transforming into a puff of green smoke that completely disappeared. There was no trace of his aura left. Sect leader, sect leader. Everyone was shocked because they had seen the sect leader die in front of them. He had died completely and cleanly. Could it be that the lifespan shown on the panel is real? Everyone was shocked. Oh no, oh no. At that moment, some disciples rushed in and reported, in our sect, everyone has a virtual panel in front of them. It shows their lifespan. When their lifespan ends, they will die. The lifespan shown on the panel has been greatly reduced. This sect was just a small microcosm. In every corner of the multivariate universe, even the most powerful existence couldn't escape from this restriction. The entire multivariate universe, the endless spacetime, and the laws of life's lifespan had been changed by some irresistible power. This was caused by Gu Chensha. In the entire world, Whether it was the past, present, or future, only he had the power to change all living beings and all the laws. Even the minor figures who had discovered the virtual panel could not escape from it. Even the major figures who had cultivated to the supreme immortal realm couldn't escape from it. What's going on? Why did such a thing appear? As soon as the Dharma saint reached the supreme immortal realm, he found that everything in the world had changed drastically. A virtual panel appeared in front of him, showing his lifespan. Dharma Saint, Supreme Immortal Realm, Level 98, Lifespan 999,999,999 years. Lifespan consumed. The Dharma Saint looked at the information on the panel with a marvelous expression. What? The Supreme Immortal Realm still has lifespan? Even if you cultivate to the heavenly longevity realm, your lifespan is the same as the heavens. You can basically say you're undying. And the heaven origin realm is even more so. Why is my lifespan only 1 billion years? Even an ordinary planet is longer than my lifespan. Why? The Dharma Saint roared. A lifespan of 1 billion years might seem like a long time, but to experts it didn't count for much. True experts could manipulate time and change everything. Forget 1 billion years, even 10 billion years would pass in the blink of an eye. Life and space-time were meaningless to them. That was true for Heaven Tao experts, and even more so for the invincible deathless level. But now that they had reached the invincible deathless level, they were bound by lifespan. In that case, what was the point of cultivation? Who is it? Who has such power? A person suddenly appeared in the Dharma Saint's mind. It was Gu Chensha. Gu Chensha, it's you. You're a devil. You're not human. The Dharma Saint roared. You actually did something like this? You changed the lifespan of everything. What do you want? Do all living beings in this world have no hope of eternal life? No, I must fight. I must kill you. I must break this shackle of life. The Dharma Saint was completely enraged. You see, the Dharma Saint can't accept this. But his philosophy is to use the law to govern the world. But when it comes to him, he feels that something is wrong. Gu Chensha noticed the Dharma Saint's roar, but he didn't say anything. We also have lifespan, but our lifespan is much longer than the Dharma Saint. And it's still increasing. Lu Baiwa looked at her panel. Of course, Gu Chensha said. When you follow me, because your realm is constantly increasing, the consumption of your lifespan can't keep up with the increase. Chensha, what about you? What's your lifespan? Do you have such a panel? When Hong asked. I don't. Gu Chensha waved his hand. Because there is nothing in this world that can kill me. Even I can't destroy myself and make myself die. That's why I can't condense my own interface. This is one of the things that I can't do in this world. At Gu Chensha's realm, it was true that he couldn't destroy himself. Chapter 11-12. To be the enemy of the world. And 1T/P. Just how many living beings were there in the entire multiverse? And 1T/P and 1T/P no one knew, because the new world was still constantly creating universes. After a universe was born, it was hard to count the number of living beings in it. And 1T/P and 1T/P moreover, there were countless universes in the world. And 1T/P and 1T/P, but now, with a casual wave of Gu Chensha's hand, a nomological power enveloped the entire multiverse. In the hearts of every living being, he even set the change in lifespan so that every living being knew their own lifespan, thus creating a sense of urgency. And 1T/P and 1T/P, everyone's lifespan was clearly displayed. With every passing minute, every passing second, it continued to elapse, giving off a sense of urgency. And 1T/P and 1T/P, everyone would no longer be muddle-headed and idle away their time. And 1T/P and 1T/P, even a newborn child would feel that their time was too short, and they couldn't afford to squander it. and 1T/P and 1T/P in the past, when one cultivated to the God level, or even the sage level, they basically didn't have to worry about their lifespan anymore. Unfortunately, everyone was practically roasting on a fire now. And 1T/P and 1T/P, the world has changed, and the intelligence of all living beings has been stimulated. As Gu Chernshaw waited, he discovered that in this multiverse, waves of thoughts were like landslides and tsunamis. Countless strange and wonderful ideas, as well as wisdom that pursued the true meaning of eternity, were all surging over. The speed at which they were increasing was billions of times faster than usual. And 1T/P and 1T/P this way, his neither nor immortality module became clearer. And 1T/P and 1T/P the modules changed and combined with each other, producing a clicking sound. And 1T/P and 1T/P next, the neither nor undying module contained boundless knowledge, which was spread out for everyone to study. Gradually, their lifespans once again increased by leaps and bounds. 1T/P and 1T/P lifespan was an indicator of one's cultivation level. The longer one's lifespan was, the stronger one's cultivation level was. 1T/P and 1T/P Chernshaw, with what you've done, the chi of heaven and earth has changed dramatically. It's like a country suddenly issuing some kind of stimulating decree, and then the whole country immediately prospered. The people's enthusiasm has been mobilized. Lu Baiwei was also observing the changes in the entire multiverse. 1T/P and 1T/P under her observation, her lifespan was also increasing rapidly. 1T/P and 1T/P at this moment, her lifespan had already reached 30 billion years. 1T/P and 1T/P and the Dharma Saint was also at the undying realm, and his lifespan was only a billion years. 1T/P and 1T/P. This is equivalent to going from a slave society to a feudal society. In a slave society, slaves didn't have any property, so their enthusiasm for work wasn't high, and they would often even rebel against their masters. But then it became a feudal society, and those slave masters rented their land to the slaves. The slaves could obtain wealth, and they worked day and night, causing the entire society to undergo a qualitative change. Wen Hong said, "Now that Chernshaw has activated this law, everyone can see their own lifespans, and their lifespans have greatly decreased, forcing people to struggle for survival, constantly cultivating, thinking, and creating. Even the undying realm can't be content in a corner, and the entire world will welcome a great change. This is the advancement of an era." 1T/P and 1T/P indeed. Zhuge said, "Actually, right now, Chernshaw is constantly urging all living beings in the universe to improve. As long as they improve, more undying realms will be born, and even more powerful figures will be born. At that realm, who knows who will become your true opponent in the end? 1T/P and 1T/P, I'm forcing them," Gu Chernshaw said. "Under this kind of pressure, there will definitely be a backlash. During the backlash, fate energy will flow intensely, and as it flows, the countless fate energy will gather on a single person, and that person will be my true opponent. Of course, it's impossible for him not to come out now." 1T/P and 1T/P Chernshaw. By doing this, you're forcefully reducing the lifespans of all living beings, stimulating their wisdom and power, making their souls even stronger. But if they think that you dare to restrict their freedom and harm their reputation, they will join forces to deal with you. In that case, won't you become the enemy of the entire world? The martial saint said. 1T/P and 1T/P. Precisely because of this, the true protagonists will be born. Gu Chernshaw said. The true protagonists of the multiverse, the true protagonists, won't be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with me. They will be born one by one to challenge me, and I will defeat them one by one. Afterward, the new protagonists will be born, and they will become stronger and stronger. At that time, it will be the final battle, which will allow me to reach the Undying Realm, and even reach the 11th level of the Undying Realm. 1T/P and 1T/P. The Undying Realm has 11 levels? Zhuge, Lu Baiwei, and Wen Hong were all shocked. 1T/P and 1T/P. The realm is limitless. Gu Qinsha said. Not only the 11th level, but also the 12th and even the 13th level. But at that time, I don't know what will happen either. Only when I reach that step will I know. But things should be done step by step, just like this for eternity. Watching the changing scenery of the universe is also interesting, because even I don't know what will happen in the next moment. 1T/P and 1T/P. The fate energy is starting to gather. Chang Weiyang looked around and saw that the multiverse, no matter if it was the new world, the old world, or the non-old world, or even the countless universes, the fate energy was changing, gathering towards an unknown point. In this way, the person who obtained this fate energy would definitely stand out, surpassing everyone, and Lin Yixuan, Zhou Yang, and the others wouldn't be a match for him. 1T/P and 1T/P. Right now, Lin Yixuan should be the strongest. I didn't expect this woman to have such a trick, Lu Baiwei said. She came from our new world, but now she has reached this level. Especially opportunistic, at the most critical time, she established the non-old world. Now, her strength is even above mine, and I'm afraid she is the strongest besides you. Of course, Zhou Qin and the other 5 are also very powerful, but they are not humans yet, but virtual figures similar to Gu Xinjian and the will of the old world. If they can become real people, they will have a lot of tricks. 1T/P and 1T/P. The main thing is that she is good at making decisions. The influential figures of the past have all withered, and the new era changes too quickly. All the fate energy, power, and cultivation of the fourth are equivalent to making Lin Yixuan, and the talents of the old era will wither in the coming time. The Dharma Saint has mastered the supreme immortal realm, and thinks that he can do whatever he wants, but next it will be his time to die, and he will use his own savings to make a new person. Gu Qinsha sighed. And some people from the past, like Hong Lingsha and the others, will also be replaced by new people in the future. 1T/P and 1T/P. In the beginning, when the human realm was condensed, many outstanding people emerged. Those people had obtained the blessing of the variation origin. Unfortunately, they had all disappeared. 1T/P and 1T/P. The famous master of the human world, the ancestor of the human world, Zhang Ziren, also died without a burial place, and was completely devoured. The fourth who devoured him also died. 1T/P and 1T/P. Only those who followed Gu Qinsha were safe, and the only one who died was Jin Suebua, but Jin Suebua failed to break through to the supreme immortal realm, and was not killed by others. 1T/P and 1T/P. In other words, Gu Dusha could protect all his subordinates. Without the protection of Gu Dusha, no matter how high one's cultivation was, no matter how strong one's strength was, one might not be safe. Especially now, everyone had a lifespan which was extremely pressing. The universe was changing day and night, and in this great era where the wind and clouds were surging, the change of generation was extremely fast. 1T/P and 1T/P. Why? We are not in the old and new worlds, and we cannot escape the shroud of this law. 1T/P and 1T/P. In the old and new worlds, Tang Chuan, Zhang Xiangong, and the others have reached the supreme immortal realm, and started to build this world. In this world, countless experts were born and countless races were formed. Space, dimensions, planets, star fields, continents were born, and many magical treasures, medicinal pills, natural treasures, and all kinds of cultivation techniques were created, enriching the world. 1T/P and 1T/P. Zhang Xiangong and Tang Chuan looked at the virtual interface that suddenly appeared, and their expressions were very unsightly. This is all Gu Chencha's fault. We are immortal, and even if the multiverse disappears, as the supreme immortal realm, we can exist forever, and completely transcend time and space. Unfortunately, our lifespans are only a few billion years, not even as long as a planet's lifespan. How can we build an entire world? 1T/P and 1T/P greater than a few billion years of lifespan was a long time for ordinary people, but for the supreme immortal realm, it was too short. That was because they could change time at will to create something, and it could take 10 billion years. In other words, right now, Gu Chensha had restricted some of their abilities, making it impossible for the supreme immortal realm experts to act recklessly. 1T/P and 1T/P, Gu Chensha has lost his mind. If even the supreme immortal realm experts can't live forever, then who can live forever? He's basically cutting off the path to immortality for all living things. At this time, Wei Jiao walked over. Originally, I thought he had lost control of the multiverse, and that even the will of the new world had betrayed him, so he wasn't a threat, and we would surpass him sooner or later. Who could have guessed that his strength was far beyond our imagination? He can change the structure of the multiverse at will. I even suspect that he could take our lives with a single thought. But right now, he's only at the supreme immortal realm, just like us. 1T/P and 1T/P. I wonder why Gu Chensha is doing this? Tang Chuan didn't understand. Isn't he making the whole world his enemy by doing this? No living thing would allow someone to restrict their lifespan. It seems we have to join forces to deal with Gu Chensha. Right now, he's our greatest enemy. 1T/P and 1T/P, that's right. Originally, it would have been very meaningful for us to fight each other. But with Gu Chencha's actions, our fighting has become meaningless. Right now, our greatest goal is to break the shackles, suppress this person, and regain our freedom. 1T/P and 1T/P, we want freedom. 1T/P. Chapter 11-13. Chapter 227, The Rebirth of the Myriad Worlds. The old and new worlds couldn't escape from Gu Chencha's methods. Even those powerful beings who had cultivated to the undying realm could only accept the rules. However, it was also because of this that they were filled with hatred for Gu Chensha. This was understandable. They had lived well, experienced countless tribulations, and were the absolute protagonists of many worlds. They had finally cultivated to the undying realm and thought that they could live for eternity. But now they had a lifespan, and their lifespans had been reduced by so much. No one would feel comfortable about this. Moreover, it had hurt their very foundation. Thinking about it, in the battles of the myriad heavens and realms, magic treasures were all secondary. Opportunities were all fabricated. Only one's own lifespan was real. As long as one could live, anything could happen. If one died, then everything would turn into a dream, like a bubble. Now that Gu Chensha had limited the lifespans of all living beings, anyone who knew the truth would definitely hate him. They would already see him as a great demon king, a true demon, and a truly merciless being. In an instant, countless people with lofty ideals had the intention to defy the heavens. Heaven was the current Gu Chensha. Our battles no longer have any meaning. At this time, Wei Jia and Zhou Yang had also arrived. They were discussing with Tang Chuan, Zhang Xiangong, and the others. The two of them had been fighting against each other, wanting to devour each other. Their battle was in full swing, but suddenly, something like this happened. They felt that there was no meaning in fighting anymore. They had to work together to resolve this calamity. They definitely couldn't allow their lifespans to run out and their cultivation to dissipate. But how can Gu Chensha defeat him now? At this time, the true master of the old and new worlds, Lin Yixuan, also appeared. There was a strong sense of melancholy between her brows. She had originally thought that she could dominate the world and stand on equal footing with the old and new world. Only now did she realize that everything was fake. In front of Gu Chunxia, her achievements were childish and laughable. This matter is no longer something we can deal with, Tang Chuan said. I think we need to unite the new world, the old world, and those 6 invincible figures. That way, the 3 forces can't attack each other. That makes sense. Lin Yixuan waved her hand, and instantly, the wind and clouds surged. Everything changed into a great hall. She sat on the throne, and everyone else was below her. This was the conference hall of the old and new world. Zhou Yang, I know that you're colluding with that invincible and powerful figure, Zhou Qin, to overthrow my rule. But I don't care. I know everything about you. Contact Zhou Qin now, and we'll discuss how to deal with Gu Chunxia. Lin Yixuan's words made Zhou Yang's expression turn ugly. But at this time, he had no other choice. He immediately adjusted his mentality and began to call for the person behind him, Zhou Qin. Whoosh! In the middle of the hall there was only one person. It was a young man dressed in green. It was Zhou Qin. Zhou Qin looked at the high and mighty Lin Yixuan. He didn't seem to care. Instead, he put on a cynical look. You're not the master of the old and new worlds. You sure are at ease. Why are you contacting me? I don't want to talk nonsense. Lin Yixuan waved her hand again. Zhou Qin, I think you shouldn't stay out of this. If I'm not wrong, you have that interface too. You also have a lifespan in it. In other words, even if you're a special existence, you can't escape from Gu Chenchi's control. No matter how powerful you are, you're the same as us. You're just a test subject of Gu Chunxia. Actually, I know that you're not a real person yet, but you're not to be trifled with. Logically speaking, Gu Chunxia is invincible now, but he'll eventually retire from the stage of history. Billions of years later, you'll be the main character to replace him. The others will replace you generation after generation. But now, Gu Chunxia has broken away from certain rules and wants to be the main character for eternity. In this way, you guys won't be able to be born. The only way to stop Gu Chunxia is to suppress Gu Chunxia. Of course, you guys can also use some changes here to be born in advance. It looks like you've built a world that isn't the old or the new. Your cultivation has been increasing day and night, and you've mastered a supreme mystique. Zhou Qin said, You're right. I'm the one to replace Gu Chunxia. I'm his next successor. However, he's occupied this position forever, so I can't be born. At the same time, it has affected countless people who will come after me. These people will have to join forces and get rid of Gu Chunxia before order can be restored. The future itself is changing, Lin Yixuan said. Indeed, we can't see the future clearly, but the only thing I know is that if we don't suppress Gu Chunxia, we'll all die. Although we have a lifespan of billions of years, or even tens of billions of years, it's useless. We'll die in the end. Moreover, Gu Chunxia can manipulate our lifespan at will. Maybe he'll have a sudden change on a whim, so we can only live for a few decades or even a few centuries. With this person above us, our lives will be threatened at any time. This is absolutely intolerable. This is indeed intolerable, Zhou Qin said. I've indeed become Gu Chenchi's guinea pig. He's doing this to collect more data and let everyone provide him with experience. The reason why he created this lifespan panel is also to squeeze out everyone's potential. I know this too. There's no point in discussing this anymore. Lin Yixuan said, What we need to discuss now is how to deal with Gu Chunxia. We need to kill or suppress Gu Chunxia completely and get rid of the lifespan limit on this panel. What good ideas do you have? Of course I have ideas, Zhou Qin said confidently, but with my current strength it's very difficult for me to unleash some things. I need to become a real person in order to have the ability to unleash some heaven-defying techniques and directly shatter this rule established by Gu Chunsha. What? Lin Yixuan was shocked. You actually have such power? She didn't believe that Zhou Qin could actually shatter the rules established by Gu Chunsha. Didn't that mean that if Zhou Qin became a human, he would have the same abilities as Gu Chunsha? However, she thought about it. In the future, Zhou Qin would be someone who would replace Gu Chunsha. It wouldn't be surprising for him to have some secret technique. This isn't surprising. My strength isn't inferior to Gu Chensha's to begin with. Zhou Qin said unhurriedly. However, without a soul, one can't become a human. Without a soul, it's impossible to mobilize all of one's power. This is because a human's soul itself is eternal power. How can you become a human? Lin Yixuan asked. She knew that this was very likely the key to something. If she could find out Zhou Qin's secret, her strength would also increase to a terrifying level. It's very simple. The power of all living beings. This is the best method now. I will establish a sect, gather faith, and extract some of the most mysterious things from the faith. Zhou Qin said, the power of a person's spirit contains everything. It is ever-changing and can be refined into many great existences. Right now, the method you guys are using to refine it is too primitive. Even the most brilliant method can only extract a bit of the power of eternity from it. However, I'm different. My method is billions of times more brilliant than yours. I can extract unimaginable power from it. In the end, when these powers are gathered together, I can condense my own body and turn into a supreme god. I can break the shackles of Gu Chunsha. Your consciousness is going to be extracted from my old and new worlds? Lin Yixuan said. That's right. The other universes are too small. They can't be used at all. Of course, if we join forces, I can teach you some techniques that will allow your power to surpass the old and new world. Zhou Qin said, all right. It seems that if I don't give you some benefits, you won't believe me. I'll tell you the secret extracted from the soul. A strange power was transmitted into Lin Yixuan's mind. Many strange and dazzling things appeared. After a long time, Lin Yixuan's eyes suddenly lit up. The aura around her body rose steadily. She let out a long cry. I see. The power of the soul can be used in this way. Zhou Qin, it seems that you are indeed an existence comparable to Gu Chunsha. Then, she grabbed with both hands. Instantly, countless power of faith surged over like the sea. In front of her, it condensed into a chaotic ocean. Back then, Gu Chunsha had established the small divine prefecture overseas to collect power of faith. He extracted some essence from it and used it to condense large formations and forge treasures. This caused the overseas forces to be extremely huge. It became his secret base and provided him with a lot of combat power. All this while, Gu Chunsha had also been researching how to extract many substances from the power of faith. The power of faith was an existence of a higher level than fusion elemental energy. Many treasures could be extracted from fusion elemental energy. However, there was a limit, and that was undying substances could not be extracted. Only the spirit force of some people would be able to extract undying substances. As the refinement method became more exquisite, the undying substances that could be extracted would become increasingly pure. Some people would be able to extract micro-undying energy, minor undying energy, and some could first extract true undying energy, eternally undying energy. However, no one could extract undying substances from it. In other words, even if one reached the undying realm, it was impossible to extract undying substances from it and create undying treasures. The martial sage talisman created by a martial sage was actually a process of mutation. Right now, it was impossible for a martial sage to create such talismans. However, Zhou Qin's method could actually create undying treasures. Chapter 11-14. Destiny Gathering Sword. Lin Yixuan continued to extract the deathless energy. Gradually, a stream of essence was extracted from the energy, which then transformed into a sword. This sword was filled with the purest deathless energy. It was trembling, exploding, vibrating, and flowing. In other words, the sword itself was almost at the immortal level. Wonderful! Lin Yixuan was overjoyed. This is equivalent to refining and creating the supreme immortal realm. It's simply heaven-defying. No wonder you're the protagonist of the next era. Zhou Qin, I have no words to describe this. I feel that, given time, this sword that I've refined will definitely reach the supreme immortal realm. Up until now, there have only been 2 supreme immortal realm magic treasures. The first was the gourd that Fa Wuxian transformed into, but that gourd had long been devoured by someone else. As for the second supreme immortal realm magic treasure, it was a martial arts talisman. Since then, there has never been a third supreme immortal realm magic treasure. This sword of mine is the third peerless immortal level magical treasure. In a few years, I'll be able to turn it into a true peerless immortal level expert. Even if this magical treasure goes out on its own, it'll be able to hold its own against the first peerless immortal level expert. That means creating an immortal level expert. Zhang Xiangong, Tang Chuan, Wei Jia, Zhou Yang, and the others were all shocked. But it consumes too much power of faith from the sacrifices, Lin Yixuan said. In just a short while, I can sense that the sacrifices and faith from the old and new worlds have been greatly reduced. Even the world's origin seems to be hungry. That's right. Peerless immortal experts have gathered the fate energy of countless universes and obtained the greatest opportunity to become peerless immortal experts. Of course, creating them now would cost a lot of fate energy and faith sacrifices. That's right. Zhou Qin said. The heavenly Tao was invincible in the past. But why did it still need people to sacrifice themselves? Because after it obtained the power of sacrifices, it could refine higher-level existences and evolve itself. Now that you've refined this flying sword, which is an immortal-grade artifact, the destiny of the entire old and new worlds has begun to decrease. You have to make up for it through various operations. Lin Yixuan nodded. She also knew how difficult it was to create a supreme immortal realm. To gather the fate energy of a supergiant universe, it would take countless times of preparation before one could be born. Although the old and new worlds were much larger than the mega-universes, when they first formed, they were all unstable. Extracting the fate energy and sacrifices within to create the invincible undying had actually harmed the origin of the world. Anyway, it didn't matter. As long as he worked hard, the old and new worlds would grow bigger and bigger. Then, he would be able to create countless peerless immortal realm experts. Right now, you're still taking the soul energy from other people's worship and faith. You haven't reached that realm yet. If you reach a higher realm, you will be able to open your soul energy and create endless immortal realm experts, said Zhou Qin. Alright, we don't need to talk about this realm. Let's focus on our business. Next, help me refine my body. Refining the body requires a lot of faith energy and fate energy, as well as all kinds of sacrifices. We need to refine them to the highest degree. However, all of these can be done in the old and new worlds. In that case, Mr. Zhou Qin, please join our old and new worlds and create them together, said Lin Yixuan. Very good. That's a deal. Zhou Qin nodded. Rumble. The entire old and new worlds began a whole new transformation. Not bad, not bad. Gu Chunshao also saw the changes in the old and new world. He knew that Zhou Qin and Lin Yixuan were working together to completely transform into humans. Not only that, the new world and the old world started to give birth to many powerful people. It seemed like the old world's will and the new world's Gu Xinjian were trying their best to turn into humans. Only by turning into humans could their strength reach the limit and advance further, stabilizing the 10th level of the immortal realm. Unless there was an unbreakable immortal realm, they would be stuck in this realm forever. My coercion has indeed caused these future protagonists to be born again. I've also obtained some knowledge about the future. Very good. However, the future has been completely messed up. No one knows what will be born. Anticipation appeared in Gu Chencha's eyes. The situation he had created was chaotic. From the beginning, he had spread the Dragonless Heart Sutra and developed the greatest power in the depths of people's hearts. The situation had gone out of control. The original world was a flow of resources. In other words, when a powerful existence was born, it had to plunder the corresponding resources. Otherwise, it would be difficult to cook without rice. In such a world, the birth of an expert could be seen at a glance. It could even be controlled. As long as the resources were controlled, experts could not be born. Even if one couldn't control the resources, one could clearly see who would plunder the resources and who would be born. In other words, the future of the past could be completely predicted. But now there was no need for resources. In the depths of everyone's heart, there was an endless amount of resources. As long as one could take them out, they would be an invincible existence. In the old world, perpetual motion machines did not exist. But now, anyone who had awakened spirit force was a perpetual motion machine. In this way, even without the need for resources, people could still obtain supreme evolution. The future was completely messed up. No one knew what would be born in the multiverse. This was a great era where stars shone brightly. It was a truly glorious era that was unpredictable. Countless experts would truly appear. Their thoughts, their wisdom, would push the civilization of heaven and earth to unprecedented height. It wasn't the old world or the new world. The old world and the new world were all undergoing marvelous changes. Many universes were also undergoing rapid evolution. In the countless universes, there was a frenzy of cultivation because no one wanted to die from the exhaustion of their lifespan. Swoosh! Gu Chernxia entered a world that had just evolved into a giant universe. He wanted to observe the cultivation craze caused by him pushing out the lifespan laws, as well as the reactions of all living beings towards this matter. The universe he descended into was called the Hard and Soft Universe. This universe also had martial arts, but there were also arcane techniques, magic, witchcraft, cultivation, technology, machines, etc. Everyone evolved according to their own cultivation. However, the current levels were set by Gu Chernxia. How much strength one had would determine how many levels one could reach. For example, the Dharma Saint reached the Undying Realm. He was level 99 and had a lifespan of 1 billion years. Basically, if one cultivated the Tao Realm 6 transformation Xiantian astral energy, one would be level 1. If one cultivated the Tao Realm 18 transformation, Great Tao Golden Core, one would be level 2. The other cultivation of magic, arcane techniques, etc., were all based on one's lifespan. It was absolutely fair and there were no loopholes at all. Who was it who controlled all of this and caused my parents to die? At that moment, in the dormitory of a huge military school, a teen wearing a military uniform sat cross-legged. A virtual interface appeared in front of him and his name and stats appeared on it. Wang Dong, level 1, lifespan 60, and some other information. His lifespan continued to decrease. Every moment that passed, it would decrease by a bit. This meant that his lifespan was decreasing. However, he slowly cultivated a cultivation technique which caused this speed to decrease. However, it seemed like his realm hadn't reached the required level and his lifespan didn't increase. One's combat strength can be seen from one's lifespan. Wang Dong sighed. Unfortunately, my Yuan Ling technique can't break through. Otherwise, I would have 100 years of lifespan. Gu Chernxia greatly reduced the lifespan of all living beings. Originally, normal people would have 100 years of lifespan. But now, if they were born, they would only have 30 years of lifespan. They were pitifully weak. However, if they could cultivate right away, they would be able to reach level 1 very quickly and have 60 years of lifespan. My parents didn't cultivate. They died the moment this tribulation of lifespan came. There was no room for maneuver. I hate it. Wang Dong fiercely punched the bed. Who is it? In an instant, such a page appeared in the minds of all living creatures. All living creatures' lifespans have been greatly reduced. Originally, with my current level of cultivation, my lifespan should have been at least a few hundred years. Now it's only 60 years. This is practically plunder, naked plunder. If I find out who the mastermind behind all this is, I'll definitely tear him to pieces. Wang Dong smashed his fist onto the bed. At this moment, the hatred in Wang Dong's heart couldn't be washed away even with all the water in the ocean. This person is the one who gathered the destiny of the entire universe? Gu Chunsha quietly entered the dormitory of the military school. He looked at the teen called Wang Dong and smiled. He wasn't aimlessly looking around. Instead, he was carefully observing the places where destiny was gathered. There were places where destiny was gathered in a village. There were also instances where destiny was gathered in a single person. If it was gathered in a family, then that family would be the richest in the village. If it was gathered in a single person, then that person would be the most promising person in the entire village in the future. This was the case for a village, a town, a county, a prefecture, a province, a country, a continent, a planet, a galaxy, a dimension, and a universe. And now, in this hard and soft universe, all the destiny was faintly gathering in the body of this person called Wang Dong. This attracted Gu Chensha's attention. Gu Chensha looked at Wang Dong. He was still secretly swearing to find the mastermind. A large amount of destiny gathered and suddenly underwent a transformation. Chapter 11:15. Wang Dong. Chapter 11:10. Wang Dong. When destiny reached a certain point, it would undergo a transformation. When that transformation reached a certain point, the person favored by destiny would have a fortuitous encounter. Beep, beep, beep. At this time, Wang Dong felt a voice in his body. System bound to host. Welcome host Wang Dong to the Merit Providence system. The system would allow the host's cultivation base and every ability to reach a supreme level of good fortune, and could even allow the host to break through to transcendence and obtain eternity. As long as the host continued to search for the mastermind behind the curtains of this world, then destroy the mastermind, he would be able to obtain unprecedented amounts of karma and truly be boundless and limitless. The first mission is to establish a religion with 1 million people, find the mastermind, and fight against him. The reward for completing the mission is to directly reach the divine origin realm. You will receive 3 supreme skills and 10 invincible treasures. Now, please accept the gift package bound to the host by the system. One-dimensional armor. After wearing it, you can freely travel through dimensions and block attack. It contains a huge storage space. You can also use dimensional slashes to destroy enemies and tear apart the heavens and earth. 3 talents soul pill. It can increase the host's soul strength by 1,000 times. Your wisdom will surpass that of a sage. Cultivation technique. Black tortoise heavenly fist. I'll find the mastermind behind this. Even if I didn't have this system to help me, I'd still find you and dismember your corpse into 10,000 pieces. Wang Dong suddenly stood up. He'd obtained boundless power. The system gave him missions, and at the same time, it gave him many treasures, pills, and cultivation technique. It was the best support. This merit providence system is quite interesting. Gu Chunsha looked carefully and didn't interfere. This system wasn't created by some big shot, and it had nothing to do with him at all. He could tell that this system was formed from the hidden consciousness of countless living beings in the void. It was emitted and eventually condensed into a program that could destroy the heavens and earth. Then, the program descended on Wang Dong's body, according to some mysterious karma, and chose this person called Wang Dong. But what did Wang Dong do? Why was he chosen? Why was he loved by destiny? This was an existence without any rules. In other words, anyone in the world could obtain this fate energy. Of course, when Gu Chunxia looked around the world and saw that after he redefined his lifespan, the hearts of countless living beings were first filled with fervent cultivation, second with extreme unwillingness, third with intense curses, and fourth with all sorts of ways to break free from their shackles. The emotions of all living beings in the multiverse were like boiling water, boiling fiercely and giving birth to all sorts of bizarre beings. Gu Chunxia could tell that Wang Dong wasn't the only one who'd obtained this system. Many others had also obtained other systems. One after another, systems were created. The system was the most powerful artifact in the entire universe. Back when he was still in the heaven realm of the land of infinity, Gu Chunxia already knew that the power of the heaven-sacrificing talisman, the dragon gate of the untainted land, and the Hong Meng tree could penetrate the heavens and the earth. However, compared with the system of the technological civilization, they were still far behind. From a certain point of view, the system was equivalent to a cheating plug-in formed by the condensation of countless fate energies. That's right, it was a cheating plug-in. In many technological civilizations there was also a gaming era. In that gaming era there would be many cheating plugins. They were all things that went against the heavenly Tao and broke the balance of the rules. Gu Chunxia had set the rules. The fate energy of the entire multiverse and the unwillingness of the people in the depths of their hearts resulted in all sorts of cheating and breaking the balance. This was the system. Back in the heaven realm, the heavenly Tao ruled over everything. It slowly nurtured all living beings and slowly evolved. However, all living beings were unwilling. In the end, Gu Taxian was born and broke everything. In fact, back in the heaven realm, the heavenly Tao could have expanded and become a multiverse. However, the heavenly Tao felt that after expanding, it would be difficult to control. Hence, it had always limited the heaven and earth to a very small area. Now Gu Chunxia completely understood. He saw through the essence of things, saw through any changes in fate energy, and saw through the karma of people obtaining fate energy. From this Wang Dong, Gu Chunxia once again observed many useful things. This was a perfect test subject. This person was not only loved by the fate energy of this supergiant universe, even the fate energy of other universes was gathering. Ever since he obtained this merit creation system, he was like a fate energy absorbing machine, wantonly absorbing countless fate energies. However, this Wang Dong was against him. When he grew up, he would definitely challenge him. He was the mastermind behind the scenes. However, Gu Chunxia didn't care. He only observed in the dark and didn't make a move. He couldn't wait for someone to grow up and become a threat to him. Fate energy changes. Gu Chunxia waved his hand. In the multiverse, the most secretive fate energy changes had already appeared. Streams of fate energy condensed into dragons and snakes, entering many people's bodies. When fate energy condensed into snakes, it would be some treasures, fortuitous encounters, elixirs, or something else. When fate energy condensed into a supergiant dragon, it would be the system. Only those who obtained the system could be considered to have a super fortuitous encounter, and could be considered as a candidate for the main character. However, it wasn't the new world choosing the main character, nor was it the old world choosing the main character. It wasn't even the new world or the old world choosing the main character. Instead, all living beings were choosing the main character. This kind of chosen main character was the strongest main character. This was also the meaning of, when a commoner comes out, all countries will be at peace. When a leader was born from the commoners, all countries in the world would truly be at peace. Gu Chunxia saw history. It could be as small as the end of a dynasty, where the feudal lords fought and killed everywhere. In the end, a leader rose from the commoners and unified the world. He would then create a brand new dynasty and pacify all disputes in the chaotic world. Now, it had also reached this point. Everyone believed that the multiverse had reached an unbearable stage, and that countless people would rise up in rebellion against their own rule. As for whether or not they could be firstborn from the commoner, that still depended on it. My strength has increased by leaps and bounds. After Wang Dong comprehended the novice gift pack, a transparent piece of armor appeared on his body. This was the dimensional armor, a novice gift gifted to him by the system. However, it was extremely powerful. With this armor, he could completely traverse through dimensions and come and go as he pleased. The dimensional crystal walls weren't able to seal him off at all. Furthermore, his cultivation began to swell violently as he evolved the true essence of his cultivation. Furthermore, the pill and the divine ability within his body had already completely fused together. Rumble! Wang Dong punched open the void. His strength had reached a new height. I can start completing the system's mission now. Wang Dong's body flashed and he left the military academy. This was a huge empire, the military academy of the Great Lin Empire. It had a strict military system. Wang Dong was just an ordinary student. According to his identity, he could only listen to the orders of the empire. He couldn't establish a sect or develop any power. If there were any signs of this, he would definitely be suppressed. But now that he had cultivated a top technique, he didn't care about all this. I am really strong now and I have the dimension armor. Even if someone is at Heaven Realm, they might not be able to kill me. But I still have to be careful. My current strength should be around Tao Realm 36 transformation. In this empire, legend has it that the ancestor who cultivated to the highest realm, the founding emperor Lin Tian, is at the Heaven Tao realm. He is much stronger than me. If I develop a sect in this empire, I will probably die if they notice me. Although he had obtained a fortuitous encounter, Wang Dong didn't relax at all. Instead, he was calculating and thinking about how to complete the mission. Gu Chunsha didn't let Wang Dong off. He observed his every move in the dark. Sure enough, Wang Dong was very capable in the future. He changed his identity and studied in the Empire's military academy. He achieved outstanding results and made many contributions to the Empire. Unexpectedly, he climbed up the ranks in a short period of time and became a general of the Empire. He also obtained many resources. On the other hand, he became an opponent of the Empire. He used his identity as a general to gradually spread his teachings among the slaves. It snowballed. Finally, in a short period of time, he completed the mission and raised his cultivation to the Heaven Primordial Realm. In the entire empire, the Heaven Primordial Realm was a famous big shot. He was at least a noble. He used these resources to secretly pursue the empire's princess. He won her favor and became the emperor's son-in-law. Then, he secretly roped in officials in the imperial court. He became a powerful faction and controlled the imperial court. Gradually, everyone in and out of the imperial court became his people. Furthermore, he secretly completed a few missions and raised his cultivation to the Heaven Tao realm. Afterwards, he pretended to be loyal to the imperial court. However, he secretly suppressed and assassinated the ancestor of the Heaven Tao realm, the founding emperor Lin Tian. Then, he shifted the blame to another large empire, the Myriad Empire. As a result, the two empires fought each other. The Myriad Empire invaded the Great Lin Empire and plundered and killed people everywhere. The people had no way of making a living. At this time, Wang Dong fought 10 battles with the Myriad Empire. He won every battle. In the end, he destroyed the capital of the Myriad Empire, captured the entire imperial family, killed their ancestor, and destroyed the empire. In this battle, Wang Dong became the hero of the entire empire. He was the god of war. The emperor also died in the battle. Under the unanimous election of everyone, Wang Dong became the new emperor of the empire. All of this happened in the short span of 10 years. A hero without any blemishes. Gu Chensha had been observing for 10 years. He couldn't help but admire Wang Dong. He wasn't like other people who immediately went on a killing spree after a fortuitous encounter. Instead, he disguised himself as a hero without any blemishes. In the end, he seized control of the empire. In the hearts of the empire's trillions of citizens and officials, he had no regrets at all. He was perfect, but in reality, he was the greatest schemer. This person was different from the other protagonists. Wang Dong was different from other protagonists. Chapter 11-16. System Backlash. Wang Dong's methods were exquisite, and he was also extremely patient. This way, he ruled over a huge empire, and his foundation was extremely solid. The hearts of the people were united, and everyone treated him as their savior. Everyone treated him as a great leader and teacher. His words were the absolute truth, and his every action was flawless. This was the true unity of the people, gathered in one body. At this point, even if Wang Dong didn't have any ability, he could still control everyone. Everyone listened to him respectfully, and no one dared to disobey him. He used tactics to the extreme, and that was the righteous path. Moreover, he had great power. Impressive, impressive. Gu Chensha secretly observed everything Wang Dong had done over the years. Even with his ability, he couldn't help but praise Wang Dong. In terms of controlling people's hearts, Wang Dong was a great existence. Now, Wang Dong's empire had completely expanded to the entire tough and soft universe. Wang Dong's strength had also reached the peak of the heavenly Tao realm. Rumble. At the last moment, Wang Dong conquered all the land and all the living beings in the tough and soft universe, so that all the living beings knew that the owner of this universe was Wang Dong. The empire that Wang Dong built became the only empire in the tough and soft universe. After all the living beings knew that the owner of the universe was Wang Dong suddenly activated his power and resonated with the will of the universe. In the resonance, his power began to transform into the undying realm. Tough and soft universe, you have your own will. Even if I'm the creator of the universe, your will might not listen to the creator. Moreover, I'm not the creator of the universe, so this universe of yours doesn't need its own will. Just listen to my arrangement. Now, tough and soft universe, your will shall vanish. During the process of Wang Dong's advancement, a cold expression appeared on his face. In an instant, the original will of the entire hard and soft universe let out a series of mournful wails. Then, it finally disappeared. Wang Dong had erased its own consciousness and turned it into a mechanical thing. In other words, this gigantic universe had now become Wang Dong's artifact, an artifact that was absolutely loyal and didn't have its own thoughts. Undying realm, ascend. Waves of power were converted, and Wang Dong became the undying realm. The moment he succeeded, waves of tribulations came crashing down on him. However, Wang Dong let out a long howl. Tribulation? How dare you try to use tribulation on me? What tribulation? I'm a boundless deathless, and I'm the ultimate entity. Only I can give tribulation to others, not to me. Devour it. Behind him, an enormous hand appeared, within which was a rainbow-colored hole. Boundless power swirled within the hole, emanating a gravitational force. All of the tribulations were sucked into the huge hand. In an instant, the huge hand clenched into a fist, and the tribulations disappeared. Decompose, create. Wang Dong chuckled coldly. Tribulations are insignificant to me. But Gu Chensha, now that I've reached the invincible immortal level, it's not like I don't have any hope of dealing with you. I'll kill you and take my revenge. You killed my parents, so I won't let you live a good life. Now that Wang Dong had reached the invincible immortal level, he knew the truth of the matter. It was all Gu Chench's doing. The invincible immortal level meant that he knew everything in the universe like the back of his hand. What's more, everyone would join forces to deal with Gu Chensha, eliminating the restriction on their lifespans. Through the exchange of information, all of Gu Chench's methods were clear. Host, you only have one mission left, and that is to kill Gu Chensha and become the Lord of Myriad Worlds. However, this mission is divided into many smaller missions. The mission given to you by the system is to first kill the invincible immortal expert by Gu Chench's side, Lu Baiwe. The reward you've obtained is… At this moment, Wang Dong's system's voice rang out. The merit and creation system had accompanied Wang Dong from a weak point to a strong point. Now that Wang Dong had reached the invincible immortal level, the highest level in the universe, the system seemed to be stronger than ever. It should be known that even with Gu Chench's strength, he was still in the invincible immortal level. Give me a mission? Kill Lu Baiwe? Suddenly, hearing the system's mission, Wang Dong smiled coldly. System, although you have assisted me for so long as I improve, you have absorbed nutrients from me. That should be enough, right? I'll give you one chance. Spit out everything you've swallowed in the past, and turn them into a magical treasure of mine. If you don't, I'll kill you. I, Wang Dong, have reached the invincible immortal realm. When have you ever seen someone in the invincible immortal realm who has to do missions and be bound by you? Beep beep beep. At this time, the system seemed to be thinking about something and suddenly sent out a thought. If host does not complete the mission, the system will directly kill you. The system has completely infiltrated the host's soul. Everything about the host is under the control of the system. Host, quickly accept the mission or you will be killed. The countdown begins now. 10, 9, 8. Wang Dong just looked at it coldly, not saying a word. When the countdown slowly reached 0, the system said, 3, 2, 1, time's up. Host did not accept the mission within the allotted time and has betrayed the system. Begin killing. Boom. A flame emerged from Wang Dong's body, causing his body to start melting. However, Wang Dong still sneered. Suddenly, a wave of energy entered his body from the sky, causing the flames to start extinguishing. At this moment, another person appeared in the sky. This person was the other Wang Dong. What's going on? What's going on? This is a fake body of the host. The host's real body has left the system. The system's voice started to panic. System, do you really think you can control me? Do you really think that I, Wang Dong, have no way out? Wang Dong said, I have already cast off my shell secretly. I have separated my soul and transferred all of it to create another body. I did not let you know. Impossible, impossible. There's no way the system doesn't know the host's actions. This time, the system increased the process of killing Wang Dong. I can't be bothered to explain it to you. You are not human at all, so you naturally don't understand the nature of humans. Wang Dong grabbed, and streams of light immediately appeared from his body. These streams of light gathered into a large net. The large net flickered and filled the void. This was the system itself. This system had supreme power, but unfortunately, it was still under Wang Dong's control. Refine, shrink. Wang Dong's voice was completely emotionless. He activated his own strength, completely ignoring the system's screams. Gradually, he completely transformed the system into a round ball. This round ball flickered with light, as if it contained boundless intelligence and calculation abilities. However, the system's original will was already gone, so it couldn't issue any missions to Wang Dong, much less kill him. Cultivation increase again. After refining the system, Wang Dong's aura seemed to continue to rise, and finally stopped after reaching a peak. He was many times stronger than when he had just advanced to the peerless immortal realm. On the panel, his lifespan had actually reached 5 billion years. One had to know that the Dharma Saint's lifespan was only 1 billion years when he advanced to the peerless immortal realm. In other words, his current strength was 5 times that of the Dharma Saint. However, Wang Dong was not happy at all. When he saw the panel, he suddenly attacked it with a force, wanting to shatter it. Unfortunately, his strength could not touch the panel at all. The panel in front of him seemed to be in a different realm. He could not shatter it at all. It seems like Gu Chencha's strength is far above mine. This system actually issued a mission for me to kill that Liu Baiwei. How can I do that? It seems like the system is forcing me to step into a dead end step by step, and then it will harvest me. After devouring me, he might become a human. If he can't become a human, then he will find another host and nurture that host again. This cycle will continue. After harvesting many hosts, there will be a day when this host will become a human. When that time comes, he will step onto the stage. Good plan, good plan. However, I already knew that this would happen, so I prepared in advance. Wang Dong let out a long cry. I've finished observing this person. He grew from a weak and small age to a peerless immortal realm. His own methods and schemes can be said to be colorful. During this process of observation, Gu Chensha fused all of his experiences into his own module, refining, extracting, and then materializing the module. This Wang Dong's life experiences and methods were definitely the best of the best. He grew from a nobody to a peerless immortal realm powerhouse step by step. The complexity of it, and the exquisiteness of his schemes, were simply unparalleled. Especially in the end, he actually completely refined the merit comprehension creation system that had brought him benefits, causing the system to be unable to control him. In the beginning, the system could bring enormous benefits to its host. However, once the host became a powerhouse, the system would become a restraint. In the end, it would steal the host's cultivation and use it as nutrients to nourish itself, making it a true human, and then a protagonist. This sort of thing was not uncommon in the myriad world. During the many years that Gu Chensha had been observing Wang Dong, he had also been observing other powerful existences. Some of these existences had obtained systems first, and had achieved illustrious fame. Their cultivation had reached the limit, but when they finally broke through, they were absorbed and became nutrients for the system. Chapter 11:17. Chapter 446. The System War Whoosh. Gu Chensha left without hesitation after refining all the data he had collected from Wang Dong. He searched for his next target. Wang Dong's cultivation had stagnated after he became a transcendent immortal. He had no research value to Gu Chensha. Of course, there were many others besides Wang Dong who had obtained the fate circulation system. They had great research value. In the end, Wang Dong was just a transcendent immortal born in the hard and soft universe. There were many other transcendent universes in the multiverse. In the past, there were only 4 transcendent universes. The first was the Mother Nest universe, the second was the Extreme Martial universe, the third was the Arcane universe, and the fourth was the Extreme Martial universe. However, these 4 universes became the foundation of the old world. Later on, Zhou Yang turned the Central Plains universe into a transcendent universe. Wei Jia and the 4th Gu Huasha took this universe and merged it with the old world. However, things were different now. Time had changed, and a long time had passed. Supercolossal cosmoses were born one after another. Looking at it now, there were already dozens of supercolossal cosmoses in the entire multivariate universe, and the number was still increasing. However, there were only 3 transcendent universes. They were the New World, the Old World, and the Old World. As this continued, there was a possibility that a 4th transcendent universe would be born. A 5th or 6th transcendent universe was not impossible. The The times were progressing and developing. Nothing was impossible. Gu Chunsha opened up the power in the depths of people's hearts. Energy was no longer conserved. Everyone was a perpetual motion machine that could release endless power. The Pandora's box was opened. No one could control the situation. Even Gu Chunsha himself could not control it. Of course, he did it on purpose. Gu Chunsha arrived at a place called the Mystique Cosmos. This cosmos was also a super-colossal cosmos. There used to be a tyrannical character in this cosmos called the Mystique Heavenly Emperor, who also obtained a supreme mystique system. But now, for some unknown reason, this person died while trying to break through to the undying realm, and this supreme mystique system found a new host. This host was called Liang Xindao. This person was a young man. He was originally very ordinary, the most ordinary person. However, after he obtained the supreme mystic ability system, he did not rise immediately. Instead, he remained ordinary and even resisted the supreme mystic ability system. Gu Chunsha entered the theurgy universe. He had been observing for a long time. The supreme theurgy system was born naturally. After it was born, it found a host. That host was the theurgy emperor. However, the theurgy emperor was like Wang Dong. He wanted to break free from the system's control. Unfortunately, his strength and shrewdness were far from Wang Dong's. Thus, the moment he reached the transcendent immortal realm, he was devoured by the system. After the system's power increased greatly, it began to look for another host. Now, the fate of the entire theurgy universe was gathered on this youth called Liang Xindao after the fall of the theurgy emperor. In a manner, Liang Xindao was wearing a gentleman's attire. He was leisurely drinking tea and chatting. The person he was chatting with was actually the system in his sea of consciousness. In his sea of consciousness was a supreme theurgy system. This system was formed by runes. Each rune was a theurgy sea. It was as if countless theurgy sea had formed a theurgy sea. Countless theurgy sea surged and formed this system. This system was already a treasure of the transcendent immortal realm. Unfortunately, it did not turn into a human. There were some shortcomings. System, I'm afraid it's not good for you to give me a mission now. I don't like to complete missions step by step. It's restricting me. Liang Xindao smiled and said, also, my cultivation base hasn't matured yet. Even if you kill me because I can't complete the mission, you won't get anything. Besides, my fate energy is at its strongest right now. You might not succeed in killing me because I can sense that there are many other systems in this world besides you. If you kill me, the other systems will take advantage of it and I'll still be free and unfettered. Host, don't you want to shock the heavens and reach the transcendent immortal realm? Obtain eternal life and enjoy the prosperity of the world? At this moment, the supreme theurgy system in Liang Xindao's sea of consciousness spoke. Of course I do. Unfortunately, I won't be swayed by anything. Supreme mystique system, we honest people don't do underhanded things. I know that you were the one who caused the death of the mystique great emperor. You were the one who absorbed him. You chose a host and wanted to become a human. As the host's cultivation level increased, his fate energy and fate would gradually be absorbed by you. In the end, everything would turn into nothingness, and it would instead become you, system. You're now possessing my body and assisting me in my cultivation. Do you want to do it again? At this moment, the supreme theurgy system in his body did not speak. It seemed to be silent. Supreme theurgy system, either you kill me now or we work together. You assist me in my cultivation. In the future, it will be a win-win situation. When I reach the transcendent immortal realm, I will find a way to turn you into a human. It's up to you. After saying that, Liang Xindao waited for the system to reply. Host, the system will not change. At this moment, the supreme theurgy system in Liang Xindao's body spoke. If host does not complete the mission issued by the system, you will be killed. The countdown begins now. The Supreme Theurgy System would not compromise at all. At this moment, Liang Xindao laughed coldly. Since that's the case, Supreme Theurgy System of all, come out. Whoosh. At this moment, another system appeared in the void outside of Liang Xindao's body. This system directly tunneled into his body. Within his sea of consciousness, it turned into another chain and sealed up this unparalleled mystic skill system. Supreme Theurgy System of all? At this moment, the Supreme Theurgy System was surprised. However, it soon laughed malevolently. Host, do you think that you can deal with me by working together with this system? You're just going to deliver food to me. In the system, I'm the true king. Boom. The Supreme Theurgy System exploded as a boundless flame mystique burst forth in Liang Xindao's sea of consciousness. It then began to devour the Supreme Theurgy System of all that had turned into chains. The Supreme Theurgy System of all began to crumble bit by bit. It was no match for the Supreme Theurgy System at all. But at this moment, Liang Xindao called out again. Gods of heaven and earth system, come out. Boom. Another system appeared and tunneled into Liang Xindao's body. Once again, a system made up of countless godly spirits appeared within Liang Xindao's body. These godly spirits were only the size of a speck of dust, but they were countless times stronger than actual gods. Another system? At this time, the Supreme Theurgy System laughed again. That's even better. You small fries from the system actually dared to fight with me over this great host. I'll let you know that everything you've done is in vain. I'll suppress and devour you completely. Only then will I be able to show off my skills. As it spoke, the Supreme Theurgy System expanded once more, squirming non-stop as it suppressed the other two systems. It really is powerful. Liang Xindao did not panic at all. Instead he praised, not bad, not bad. As expected of the system that devoured the Theurgy Great Emperor. Back then, the Theurgy Great Emperor was so famous that he created our Theurgy Great Universe. This universe ascended because of the Theurgy Great Emperor. It's a pity that you devoured him and became the universe's enemy. The universes will want to deal with you. Of course, there are more than two systems now. Next, the supreme and unparalleled system, the strongest level-up system, the universe mutation system, the invincible strengthening system, the light and darkness conversion system, come out. Boom. Countless tremors exploded out as dozens of systems entered Liang Xindao's body. Liang Xindao's body had become a hodgepodge. Dozens of systems had entered his body, and all of them possessed immense power. They gathered together and suppressed the Supreme Theurgy System. Why? Why have so many systems suddenly appeared? Do you all want to become enemies with me? The Supreme Theurgy System's entire body was trembling, and its attacks slowed down. Even though it had heaven-defying methods, it was still unable to deal with the combined attacks of so many systems. Countless systems' powers intertwined together and suppressed the Supreme Theurgy System. No matter how the unparalleled Mystique System tried to attack, it couldn't escape. In the end, it was suppressed to the point where it couldn't move. Then, all of the systems began to fight over the power of the unparalleled Mystique System like dogs. All of you must die. Finally, the Supreme Theurgy System could not take it anymore. It felt that if it continued to be suppressed like this, it would be completely killed. As such, it started to fight with its life on the line. Boom! Countless powers exploded out of its body and swept out in all directions. It was as if the universe had exploded, and countless destructive powers were unleashed in the depths of Liang Xindao's consciousness. However, at that moment, Liang Xindao's body suddenly left this place. As the many systems and the Supreme Theurgy System fought against each other, they suffered a huge blow. The Supreme Theurgy System's counterattack was extremely powerful. In an instant, when it fought back with its life on the line, Many systems were instantly turned into dust. However, it was also heavily injured, and it was on the verge of collapsing. At that moment, Liang Xindao made his move. This was the effect that he wanted to take in all of these systems. Chapter 11:18. 100,000 years. Liang Xindao was extremely cunning. He used some unknown method to attract all the systems into his body. Then, they started fighting, and in the end both sides were injured. After both sides suffered losses, these systems gathered together and began to brew a brand new system. Supreme refinement. Runes began to appear on Liang Xindao's body. These runes began to wrap around the system, causing his cultivation base to soar. His cultivation base was not high, but he had fused with all the will of the mystic ability universe. This mystic ability universe was a super giant universe. The power of the universe's will was equivalent to a supreme immortal realm expert. Now that it was supporting Liang Xindao, he could temporarily use the power of a supreme immortal realm expert. To think that the will of the mystic ability universe is completely taking care of you. Moreover, it is supporting you without holding anything back. Why is that? That shattered supreme mystic ability system roared in disbelief. What's wrong with that? Or is it the karma and sin you planted? Liang Xindao roared, you harmed the mystic ability emperor, causing the mystic ability universe to have no hope of ascending to the realm of a super boundless universe. The will of the universe hated you, and you still planned to devour the will of the universe. Shirui's plan was very good. Unfortunately, the will of the universe had already calculated it. It secretly supported me and set up a trap for you to enter my body to kill you. At the last moment, the systems were like sharks that smelled blood. They came one by one. They could not resist the temptation of my fate energy, but they were still tricked by me. You systems are too stupid. But I can't blame you. After all, you are not humans. You do not have souls, so you do not have endless power. Therefore, it is normal for you to be tempted by my plan. Now, stop struggling. Take it all into my body. Liang Xindao became stronger and stronger. He started to refine this supreme mystic ability system. Just as he was about to absorb the supreme God art system into his body, the supreme God art system suddenly let out a sinister laugh. Liang Xindao, do you really think you've won? Now that I've reached this point, I have no choice but to tell you that your current state was caused by me. This is my tribulation, but in this tribulation, I can truly become a human. Buzz, from within the body of the supreme mystic skill system, something invisible and intangible appeared. This thing couldn't be described with words, nor could it be explained with logic. However, this thing instantly enveloped Liang Xindao's body, causing him to be unable to move. What's going on? Universe will, why are you able to suppress the universe will? Liang Xindao discovered that all of his trump cards were controlled by the supreme sacred ability system. Ha ha! The supreme mystical ability system laughed. This is what you call beating me at my own game. You thought I fell for your trick, but in reality I was also using you to send these systems into my body. You used the will of the universe to fuse me with those systems. This is helping me break through to the last level. Now I can become a real person. Rumble! The supreme God ability system swept over and began to seep into Liang Xindao's body bit by bit. Liang Xindao could only look on helplessly, unable to come up with any solution. In the end, this young man, who had boundless fate, supreme luck, and fortune on his side, was devoured by the cunning supreme mystic skill system just like that. The moment he was devoured, the entire supermassive universe and the mystic great universes will seem to tremble in fear of this supreme mystic skill system. The mass of system data finally condensed into a human form, turning into a young man. This young man was 9 feet tall, and endless streams of data appeared above his head. However, these streams of data were all absorbed into his body and could no longer be seen. Then, waves of life aura continuously transformed from his body. He was overjoyed. I've finally become a human. I have my own spirit power. Ha ha ha, from now on, I'll be able to unleash boundless power. From a lump of data, I've become a real person. So it turns out that being a real person is so wonderful. In the past, even if I had great power, in reality, this power was born from fate. It's a power that I stole from others, it's not my own power. In the end, this power is just an illusion. Only my own spiritual power is the true source of eternity. Now that I've become a human, I should have a name. What should I be called? In this world, the strongest person is Gu Chensha. There are also other powerful people, such as the New World's Will, Gu Xinjian, the Old World's Will, and Gu Taxian. Look at the fate, all of it belongs to the Gu family. It seems like I have to seize a portion of it. Alright, I'll call myself the Ancient Mystic Skill. This supreme mystic skill system turned into a human and devoured the fate of the young man, Liang Xindao. He named himself the Ancient Mystic Skill. Then, his body shook and disappeared to devour the entire universe's will. It's over. Gu Chensha also saw everything. This scene was different from Wang Dong's victory over the merit comprehension creation system. In the previous incident, Wang Dong had defeated the system. In this incident, however, it was the system's backlash that allowed him to defeat this youth called Liang Xindao in the final stage, thus turning him into a human. This data might be the first example of a system turning into a human. It's very meaningful to me. Gu Chensha didn't interfere. Moreover, he fused the data of the system turning into a human into the module. The module of neither being nor immortality became much more abundant. With a series of buzzing sounds, the module of neither being nor immortality lit up. It seemed like some attribute within had been activated and was about to come into contact with the true truth. This was the first time that the system had turned into a human. This kind of metamorphosis was the most valuable. The system was the strongest data that was born from all kinds of fate. According to logic, although this data was powerful, it was also very flawed. If it wanted to become stronger, it could only find a host to parasitize and then issue missions to the host for the host to complete over and over again. By using the host to complete the missions, the system could obtain extremely powerful energy. Then, it would grow on its own and finally devour the host. The system was a parasite. Now that the parasite had actually turned into a human, how did it give birth to a mind? How did endless power come about? This was a topic worth researching. This topic allowed Gu Chensha to gain a lot of experience. If this continues, my research on neither being nor immortality will probably be completed in advance. Gu Chensha was very happy. He left the great mystical abilities universe and headed to the next universe. Every universe had one or more protagonists born. They would all obtain fortuitous encounters and compete with these fortuitous encounters. In the end, they would grow or fall. For example, Wang Dong and Liang Xindao, who both had great fate, had different endings that were also worth researching and pondering. At every moment, such things were happening in the multiverse. The Old World's Will, the New World's Will, Gu Xinjian, Zhou Qin, and the rest of the six couldn't become humans. This supreme mystical abilities system actually became humans and took the lead. Of course, those 8 existences are much stronger than the supreme mystical abilities system's ancient mystical abilities. It's also much more difficult for them to become humans than the supreme mystical abilities system. Gu Chensha analyzed. However, these existences becoming humans was something that could be expected soon. Next, the myriad worlds became even more chaotic. Heroes emerged in large numbers, and the world was chaotic. No one could guarantee that they could stand at the peak of the world. Even the Old World's Will, the New World's Will, and even the future protagonists couldn't guarantee that they wouldn't be killed by others. Just like that, time passed year by year. 100 years, 1,000 years, 10,000 years, 100,000 years. Gu Chunsha continued to observe the changes of the multiverse, the birth and destruction of myriad worlds. Another 100,000 years passed. During these 100,000 years, even a heavenly longevity realm expert would die due to their lifespan drying up. This was because the lifespan set by Gu Chunsha was no longer the same lifespan as the heavens and the earth. Instead, it was 100,000 years of lifespan. Even those who reached the heavenly Tao realm only had a lifespan of 100 million years. The heavenly venerable realm had a lifespan of 10,000 years. The heavenly primordial realm had 100,000 years. The heavenly realm had 1,000,000 years. The heavenly Tao had 100 million years, and the supreme immortal realm had 1,000,000,000 years. However, this rule could also be broken. For example, Lu Baiwei and the others who followed Gu Chunsha had a lifespan of tens of billions of years. Zhuge Ye, the martial sage, Wen Hong, and the others had a lifespan that far exceeded the supreme immortal realm Dharma saints by 10 times, or even dozens of times. Other people could also increase their lifespan if they could obtain some treasures. 100,000 years might seem like a long time, but in truth, it was just a few moments for Gu Chunsha to study the data. Countless amounts of data were collected into the Neither Nor Immortal Realm module, which seemed to be able to advance to the Neither Nor Immortal Realm at any time. However, it was still lacking one last transformation. Originally, Gu Chunsha had hoped that someone would challenge him. Unfortunately, in the past 100,000 years, experts had appeared in large numbers in the multiverse. Countless tyrannical characters had emerged one after another, and supreme immortal realm experts had sprung up like bamboo shoots after a spring rain. Even Zhou Qin and the other 5 had their own bodies and could transform into humans. However, none of them dared to challenge him. Originally, Gu Chunsha had thought that the 6 future protagonists would challenge him. Unfortunately, they had held themselves back, as if they were carrying out some secret plan. As for the others, there was no need to even mention them. Fate! Gu Chunsha opened his eyes. In his opinion, although 100,000 years had passed in the multiverse, to him, it was actually the matter of a single breath. With a wave of his hand, many stars appeared. These stars represented supreme, immortal realm experts, and there were actually over 100 of them. In other words, in the past 100,000 years, over 100 supreme, immortal realm experts had been born. Chapter 11:19. The Deathless World, another transcendent, boundless universe has been born. There was another huge reason why Gu Chunsha had woken up from his calculations. In the past 100,000 years, the structure of the universe had undergone many qualitative changes. More supermassive universes had been born. These supermassive universes had devoured and attacked each other. Many of them had fused together, ultimately forming a huge universe. Today, the universe seemed to be on the verge of transforming into something like a new world, an old world, and a new world that wasn't old or new. The universes of the multiverse were divided into miniature universes, small universes, medium universes, large universes, mega-universes, 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 and then the boundless infinity universe. For a long time, there had only been 3 boundless infinity universes. Now that there was one more, it would definitely affect the structure of heaven and earth. 100,000 years was like the snap of a finger for Gu Dusha, but it was a very long time for all the living beings in the multiverse. It must be known that in the land of infinity and the divine central continent, from the primordial age until Gu Dusha's time, how many heroes, how many ancient emperors, how many saints, and how many demons had appeared, and yet it had only been a mere 10,000 years. Gu Chunsha observed the changes in the destiny of the undying experts, and then turned his attention to the boundless infinity universe that was about to become a boundless infinity universe. The universe was rapidly expanding, and countless forces began to circulate and transform. Gu Chencha's thoughts spun, and he immediately knew what was going on in the universe. This universe was called the Deathless Universe. It had been founded by a group of people who weren't willing to accept that they had lifespan. They wanted to get rid of it and gain eternal life, so they formed this universe. As the organization grew, so did the universe, as if it had gathered all the destiny in the universe to reach this point. This organization was called the House of Deathless. It was in line with the ideals of all living beings in heaven and earth. In the past, as long as one could break through the heavenly longevity realm and reach heaven primal, they could live forever. As long as they weren't killed by outsiders, they would have eternal life. But now, even the undying realm couldn't give them eternal life. Therefore, all living beings wanted to break this status quo, which was why the House of Deathless had been born. The lifeless sect had indeed become the #1 power in the cosmos. This was because there were 36 supreme immortal realm experts in the lifeless sect, including Wang Dong and the ancient divine ability. During these 100,000 years, more than 100 supreme existences were born, and half of them gathered at the lifeless gate. Their ultimate goal was to break the shackles of lifespan and kill Gu Chensha to regain their immortality. Their lives were in their own hands. And now, it was time for the lifeless gate to activate the lifeless universe and ascend. As long as the lifeless universe ascends to become a super boundless universe, their cultivation and lifespan would increase even further. Furthermore, in the moment of ascension, the universe would produce a power of plunder. It would plunder the essence of the new world and the old world, becoming the #1 existence in the universe. Right now, the new world was fully deserving of being #1. Even without Gu Chensha had set down the rules, so the people of the new world still followed the word creation. Universes were spat out and created without limit. Originally, the new world could surpass the old and new worlds, but Lin Yixuan, Zhou Qin, and the others worked together to form the bodies of the 6 future protagonists. This consumed a lot of the destiny of this world, making it difficult for this world to rise above the others. Those who ask a tiger for its skin are bound to face disaster. This was Gu Chencha's evaluation of Lin Yixuan. Lin Yixuan came from the New World. She seized the opportunity to obtain the moment when the 4th Gu Huasha withered and died. She established the New World and became everlasting. She became undecaying. Unfortunately, at that time, her fate energy was at its peak, and then her love declined. Gu Chensha even saw her ending. In the future, she would definitely fall at the hands of others. She was the protagonist of an era, but she wouldn't last long. Gu Chensha arrived at the lifeless universe. At this moment, in the depths of the lifeless gate, 36 everlasting realm experts were gathered for a meeting. The leader was not Wang Dong and Gu Shintong, but someone else. This person was called Chu Chen. This person actually sat at the top of the lifeless universe and was much more powerful than Wang Dong and Gu Shintong. This person's lifespan had reached tens of billions of years, comparable to Lu Baiwei. It was unknown how he cultivated. He was the rising protagonist in the last 100,000 years. With a quick scan, Gu Chensha completely saw through the cause and effect of this Chu Chen. This Chu Chen had an extremely complicated background. He started as a peasant boy, but because he was involved in a matter, his family was annihilated by the people of Jianghu. He was the only one who escaped. Later, he went through untold hardships and became a servant of a wealthy family. Just as he settled down, he started to practice martial arts for revenge. He also flirted with the young lady of this wealthy family and seemed to have tasted the taste of love. He even had some fortuitous encounters. However, this wealthy family offended the nobles and was annihilated. The young lady was nowhere to be found. Only Chu Chun escaped. He didn't have a fixed place to stay, and he kept thinking about revenge. Unfortunately, he was still hunted down. In the process of being hunted down, he gradually grew and was even taken in by a royal highness of the empire. Unfortunately, good times didn't last long. When he flirted with the royal highness daughter, the royal highness family was annihilated because he was involved in the struggle for the throne. Thus, Chu Qin once again began his life of escape. In the process of his escape, he entered a cultivation sect. The sect took good care of him and nurtured him as a genius. Unfortunately, good times didn't last long. Extreme joy turned to sorrow. This sect offended another large sect and was annihilated. Chu Chen could only watch helplessly as his senior brothers, senior sisters, junior sisters and junior brothers, who were very close to him, were killed, imprisoned and humiliated. He was extremely sad and once again began his life of escape. In this way, he kept running and joining various forces. However, as long as it was a force that was good to him, it would be annihilated. Even Chu Chen himself didn't know what was going on. He hated heaven and earth. As he grew step by step, he finally attributed this to Gu Chensha manipulating everything. He wanted to annihilate Gu Chensha. He wanted to kill everything in the new world. Along the way, he didn't know how many fortuitous encounters he had, how many dangers he had encountered. He had finally grown to a terrifying level. Unfortunately, he wasn't satisfied. In fact, his heart was filled with pain. The people he cared about, the people he loved, his family, and his friends had all left him. He was the only one left behind. He was the embodiment of disaster. Anyone who was close to him would suffer misfortune. He was the king of misfortune. Of course, those who opposed him didn't have a good ending. Those who killed his friends would be returned tenfold. He had reached the supreme immortal level 10,000 years ago, and he was still growing. In the end, he suppressed many supreme immortal experts and formed an alliance, creating the Lifespan universe. The Lifespan universe was enormous. During its creation, it had encountered many tribulations, all of which he had resisted. Now it was evolving. Ladies and gentlemen, today is the day our Lifespan universe ascends to a supreme, limitless, boundless universe. Once it is complete, our strength will greatly increase. This time, we must unite as one and overcome all the tribulations. Sooner or later, we will suppress Gu Chensha, break through his shackles, and obtain eternal life. Chu Chen sat on the first chair, looking around at all the immortal realm experts, especially Wang Dong and the ancient divine ability cultivator. Of the 36 chairs in the hall, he was number 1. Wang Dong was number 2, ancient divine ability was number 3, and Li Fuxing was number 4. He was actually someone that Zhou Yang had nurtured all those years ago. Now, he had reached the invincible immortal realm. Ranked 5th was Chen Qi. He hadn't been born out of nowhere. Back in the Arcana universe, he had received help from Gu Chensha. Gu Chensha had him write novels all over the Arcana universe, gathering a lot of people. Later, when he cultivated Arcana techniques, he wrote even faster. Countless people couldn't help but be fascinated by him. In the end, he had managed to reach the supreme immortal level in secret. However, he had joined the Lifespan universe in the end, becoming a member of the resistance against Gu Chensha. He wanted eternal life. Ever since he had started writing novels, he had created countless main characters. Even though they were just characters in novels, the more people saw them, the more their fate would spread. These worlds would take shape in parallel illusions, because the power of the human heart was unfathomable. That wasn't unusual. In the early days, there were no gods, but some villagers built wooden statues and worshipped them day and night. Then, the gods were formed and they were extremely powerful. What Chen Qi wrote wasn't just for the people of a village to read, but for the entire Arcana kingdom. Later, the Arcana Kingdom merged with the Old World and became even more popular. Later, when Chen Qi's power reached the heavenly Tao realm, it spread to many other universes. Finally, he reached the supreme immortal level. Now, looking at his body, there were illusory worlds everywhere. Each illusory world was a framework of his world. In the countless illusory worlds, countless main characters also had great fate, and they were providing fate for Chen Qi. In other words, Chen Qi's potential was even greater than Chu Chen's. Chapter 11:20. Division of Will's 36 Supreme Immortal Realm experts gathered in one place. How much power could they exert? If they worked together, they could overturn the multiverse. But now they didn't dare to act rashly, because Gu Chensha was like a mountain pressing down on their hearts. Moreover, they had to solve the problem of lifespan first. At the Supreme Immortal Realm, no one could live forever. That was something they couldn't accept. Everyone, this time, we have to work together. We can't attack each other. Chu Chen looked at the people down there. Although he was sitting in the first position, he didn't have the absolute power. If he wanted to use his power to subdue the other 35 experts at the Immortal Realm, he couldn't do it. After all, he wasn't Gu Chensha. We know about that. Let's start the leveling up now. All the Supreme Immortal Realm experts knew how important today's event was. They couldn't afford to make any mistakes, so they didn't have any other thoughts. Right now, everyone had signed some kind of contract. If they violated the contract, they would be attacked together, even at the cost of their lifespan. Everyone, if we encounter an enemy when we're leveling up, we have to fight to the death. Chu Chen said again, we've signed a contract on each other's interface. This contract is a mortgage of our lifespan. We can't be careless. Many experts at the Supreme Immortal Realm nodded. It had been 100,000 years. As time went by, although they were limited by the virtual panels, they gradually found some benefit. They found that their virtual panels could communicate with each other. They could sign contracts that couldn't be violated, and they could even exchange lifespans. People's lifespan had become a universal currency. The virtual interface was like a huge network that connected everyone together. No matter how far away these people were, they could communicate with each other, trade with each other, and even send each other messages. Even the Supreme Immortal Realm experts found that the virtual interface was actually a support for them. It could communicate with all living beings. Gradually, all living beings got used to the interface. Without the interface, all living beings didn't know how to communicate and fell back into a barbaric era. This was Gu Chensha's plan. He knew that what everyone in the universe lacked the most was communication, information, and knowledge. He created the interface and then created a huge virtual network, just like the internet in the technological civilization. It gave everyone a huge learning opportunity and a chance to understand the world, instead of blindly limiting their lifespans. The lifespan of all living beings was not limitless, and this was enough to stimulate their passion for cultivation. Following this, the living beings obtained knowledge through the interface and improved even faster. Some of them could even trade their lifespan, causing their motivation to reach the limit. This was Gu Chensha's method of catalyzing living beings. Even undying beings were caught within, unable to escape. Rumble. These Immortal Realm experts who had signed the contract urged the entire longevity cosmos to advance crazily. Gu Chensha didn't care about the advancement of this cosmos. Instead, he went to a place in the longevity cosmos to see the lives of the commoners, the lowest rung of society. Within a small village, it was still in the feudal era. However, the farmers were planting spirit fields filled with spiritual energy to provide cultivation resources. Their officials were still squeezing them. From today onwards, you will pay your taxes with your lifespan. You won't accept anything else. At this moment, a sword light flashed above the village. A cultivator let out a roar. What? We will pay our taxes with our lifespan? He wants us to die. Immediately, the people in the village started crying. They weren't willing, but there was nothing they could do. We don't want to pay taxes. What can he do to us? If they want to take away our lifespan, we have to sign a contract. We have to give it to them wholeheartedly, and they can take away our lifespan. Otherwise, even if they kill us, it'll be useless, said a young man. Whoosh! At this time, the cultivator controlling the sword light seemed to have heard the young man's words. He suddenly grabbed out. Instantly, a portion of the sword light turned into a huge hand that grabbed the young man up into the sky. Kid, you dare to refuse taxes? The cultivator laughed maliciously. It's enough for you to rob and squeeze us. Now, you want to take our lifespan? Preposterous. I won't give it to you, even if I die. If you have the ability, then kill us, the young man said fiercely. Brat, I naturally won't kill you. You have several decades of lifespan. If I take away your lifespan, I'll be able to live for several decades more. However, since you are unwilling to sign the contract with me, I'll naturally make you sign it obediently. I've mastered a bone-searching technique that can make you wish you were dead, but you can't. The cultivator suddenly released a burst of power. Instantly, a putrid aura entered the young man's body. The young man immediately felt the feeling of being sliced into pieces. However, he refused to submit. The cultivator's face was ferocious as he tortured him. However, the young man fainted many times and still refused to submit. The cultivator was furious. This kid has guts. If I hadn't used a bewitching technique to control him, I wouldn't have been able to take his lifespan. Damn, this virtual interface has determined that after being bewitched, if it isn't his own will, then he won't be able to sign a contract. Only by torturing him until he completely submits will he be able to maintain his own consciousness and fear me. Only then will the contract be effective. The virtual interface that Gu Chernshaw had created could perfectly determine whether or not one's own will was genuine. Using bewitching techniques, if it wasn't a person's true will, then naturally, they wouldn't be able to sign a contract. However, if the person couldn't take it anymore and willingly signed the contract, then they could transfer their lifespan. However, the cultivator repeatedly tortured the young man. The young man was able to endure it. The degree of pain had exceeded a certain limit. Ding dong! After hundreds of tortures, a voice rang out in the depths of the young man's mind. Determination, extreme toughness, spiritual output, talent, rip technique, pulla. Instantly, an air ripple spread out from the young man's body and ripped the cultivator into pieces. Then, the young man fell from the sky and fainted. However, waves of power transformed his body, making him stronger. Not bad, this person can actually reach an extremely tough level of willpower. The virtual interface that I created activated his ability. Gu Chernshaw noticed and nodded his head. This was also the setting of the virtual interface that he created. Numerous virtual interfaces were connected to form a real network. The network was a world similar to the multiverse. This was also Gu Chenshaw's plan. Then, Gu Chernshaw split it based on the willpower of a person. In the past, things like Tao Realm 36 transformations, Undying Realm, etc., were all removed. What replaced it was the toughness of one's willpower. Gu Chernshaw also started to split one's willpower. Be it good or evil, a person's willpower was super cowardly, normal cowardly, normal, super tough, valiant, unmovable like a mountain, heart like the ocean, will like the stars, God like the void, will of the heavens, etc. This was because a person's strength was not the level of his cultivation, but the strength of his spirit and willpower. For example, if a powerful person was hesitant and afraid of the slightest thing, then he would fall from his throne sooner or later. If a person, even if he was a small existence, had a strong character, was brave and diligent, and was good at thinking, then it was only a matter of time before he became a great person. This was why Gu Chernsha didn't judge a hero based on cultivation but on willpower. My research results are not bad. I can collect all the willpower of all living beings. Their willpower realm is what I study. My willpower should be at the highest level, which is the life and death realm. As for the undying realm, it is just the life and death realm. Gu Chernsha had studied for 100,000 years. Finally, he had come up with a systematic theory and realms, which were divided according to people's spirit and will. People at the undying realm had understood the Tao of no life and no destruction. They had seen through the void and reality. They didn't care about life and death. Everything came from nothing. Their willpower had reached such a level. Gu Chernsha was a realm higher than them. His willpower wasn't life and death, but it wasn't life and death realm either. This was why it was called the life and death realm. This was the foundation for him to step into the undying realm. The entire universe shuddered, as if some sort of unpredictable change had taken place. Gu Chernsha knew that this was because the lifeless world had advanced to the same level as the new world and the old world. It was a super, boundless universe. Everyone, how do you feel now? Did your lifespan increase a lot? Did your cultivation increase a lot? Chu Chern had obtained great benefits from the universe's advancement. He was confident that he was the number one person below Gu Chernsha. He could even fight against Zhou Qin and the other 5 terrifying existences. Everybody nodded. Everyone here was at the peerless immortal realm. Each of them was a peerless character in the multiverse. They could calculate the past and the future with just a thought. They knew their own cultivation base like the back of their hand. Leader, what do we do next? Chenqi said. I'm afraid we still don't have the qualifications to challenge Gu Chernsha because we still can't break the virtual panel. If that's the case, having more lifespan is meaningless. Chapter 11:21. Fight, that's right, we have to fight. At this moment, Wang Dong suddenly said, even if we reach a higher realm, there's no use. Furthermore, there's no use in fighting each other now. Indeed, everyone has a limit on their lifespan, and we all want to break the shackles above our heads, so there's less scheming. Gu Chen said, but I've reached the supreme immortal level. Even with everyone's wisdom, we can't find a way to fight against Gu Chernsha. I feel that if we do anything strange and break Gu Chensha's rule, he'll come out and kill us without hesitation. The reason we're not doing anything now is because we're no threat to him. Indeed, we have to find a way to combine our fate. At the very least, we can't let him kill us. Chu Chen said. You're right. But with your current strength, even though you have 36 supreme immortals, trying to deal with Gu Chernsha is like an ant trying to shake a tree. You're overestimating yourselves. Just at this moment, a ripple descended and a person appeared. This person was dressed in green robes. Shockingly, it was Zhou Qin. Zhou Qin didn't waste any energy to descend into this immortal world. The world's origin didn't even warn him. It was completely silent. Chu Chen was shocked. He thought he could fight to a draw with these people, but now it seemed that Zhou Qin's group was unfathomable. Chu Chen knew he had a lifespan of tens of billions, standing at the peak of the supreme immortal level. But he sensed Zhou Qin's aura. This person's lifespan was probably over 100 billion, but even this person couldn't escape from Gu Chensha's control. He still had his own lifespan. How strong was Gu Chernsha? Thinking of this, Chu Chen could not help but feel despair. Zhou Qin, what are you doing here? Seeing Zhou Qin, almost all the supreme immortal realm experts stood up and prepared for battle. In the past 100,000 years, Zhou Qin's name had spread to many places in the multiverse. This man was invincible and had done many shocking things. There were even some supreme immortal realm experts who had conflicts with him, and he had directly killed and refined them, leaving not even their bones behind. His ferocious aura spread to every corner of this space. I'm here to congratulate you. You've upgraded the deathless world. Henceforth, there will be a fourth boundless universe, and your strength will increase dramatically. Zhou Qin smiled. But I think we should have a chance to cooperate. You still don't know how to deal with Gu Chensha, right? Could it be that you know of Gu Chensha's weakness? You know how to deal with him? Hearing this, all the Supreme Immortal Realm experts pricked up their ears, hoping to hear something from Zhou Qin. They had studied for countless years, but still couldn't find a way to deal with Gu Chensha. In front of him, Gu Chensha had no flaws. He was mysterious, powerful, and invincible. Of course, Gu Chensha doesn't have any flaws in front of you. However, in front of me, he has many flaws. But flaws are flaws. Whether or not I can catch them is still a problem. I'll tell you his flaws now. I just want you to cooperate with me. Let's kill or suppress him together. Zhou Qin smiled. What's his flaw? Wang Dong hurriedly asked. I'll tell you my flaw first. It's Lu Baiwei, Zhuge Ye Wenhong, and the others. If we find an opportunity to capture them, we can use them to threaten Gu Chensha. That's not a bad choice, Zhou Qin said. What kind of flaw is that? Chu Chen sneered. Let's not talk about how strong Lu Baiwei and the others are. We can't capture them. Even if we do you think Gu Chensha won't know? Gu Chensha's strength can limit our lifespan and toy with us. Can't he just strip us of our lifespan? I'm afraid that if we attack Lu Baiwei and the others, we'll be killed by him. Moreover, even if we seize the opportunity and capture Lu Baiwei and the others, can we force Gu Chensha to commit suicide? Will he take his own life for these people? That's just a joke. Of course he won't take his own life for these people. In fact, he can't do it even if he wants to. In this world, there's nothing that can kill him, not even himself. Zhou Qin said, of course, if we capture Lu Baiwei, we can force him to hand over some immortal modules. This will increase our strength, and we'll be able to get rid of this lifespan limit. This plan won't work. Chu Chen immediately rejected it. It's not wise to provoke Gu Chensha now. He's already an omniscient existence. I suspect that he knows everything we're talking about here. Yes, he does know. Zhou Qin's words caused everyone's expressions to change. However, he changed the topic. But I'm not to be trifled with. I've already used a secret technique to make him temporarily forget that we're not here. However, this secret technique consumes one's own lifespan. That's the price. One more thing. Next, I'm going to talk about Gu Chensha's greatest weakness. Listen up. What exactly is it? Chu Chen's heart was in his throat. He felt like he was about to suffocate. What was coming next would definitely be an earth-shattering secret. It's our virtual interface, Zhou Qin said. What kind of flaw is that? Everyone was discouraged. No, have you all realized? Our virtual interface can be traded and communicated with each other. It pervades the entire multiverse. In the sea of consciousness of every living being, there's such a virtual interface. It's very obvious that Gu Chensha is creating a network that pervades the hearts of all living beings. Zhou Qin said, just like when Gu Chensha created the new world back then, the new world he created was a place that all living beings yearn for. But what happened after that? The new world gave birth to its own will. It was unwilling to be manipulated by Gu Chensha, so it began to become independent and resist Gu Chensha's rule. Similarly, our interface is a huge network. It will also give birth to its own will and life, as well as the hearts of countless living beings who are unwilling to have their lifespan limited and pursue longevity. When these forces are gathered, it becomes a huge force that can subvert everything. That's right. That makes sense. Everyone was extremely intelligent. They could already understand the workings of the heavenly Tao and the vicissitudes of the human world. They immediately grasped the essence. Wang Dong said, actually, I've also thought of this. These interfaces that Gu Chunsha created are connected to a huge network. This network is the largest network in history. It's countless times larger than the old and new worlds, as well as our world with no lifespan. It encompasses all living beings, and there are no loopholes. However, this is definitely a hidden danger. Gu Chunsha has created an existence that he can't control. Just like that, we can use it. However, how exactly we use it is still a difficult problem. We've studied it for a long time, but we haven't found any clues at all. It seems like you have a clue? Of course. Otherwise, I wouldn't have come to find you. Zhou Qin said, first of all, we have to talk about lifespan. What we need to do is to use our lifespan to forge a sharp weapon, a weapon that can seriously injure Gu Chunsha. Your lifespan universe has done a good job. The two words lifespan represent the yearning of all living beings for eternal life. However, this isn't enough. We need to use this lifespan universe to kill Gu Chunsha. First, we need to spread a kind of truth. We need to make all living beings believe that at the most critical moment, they can break through their shackles and obtain eternal life by sacrificing their lifespan together. Sacrifice? Chu Chen was shocked. That's right. Sacrifice. I'm sacrificing my lifespan right now. A mysterious smile appeared on Zhou Qin's face. Have you realized that sacrificing this lifespan can release a lot of power? I've even blocked off Gu Chencha's senses. There are many functions in this interface that you haven't discovered yet. These functions all contain huge opportunities. Even as he spoke, Zhou Qin produced a paper talisman for everyone to see, which revealed many secrets. As soon as they looked at it, they realized many things. So that's how it is. This interface really is an auxiliary soul evolver. As long as we want to die together with our enemies, we can sacrifice our lifespan to gain immense power and all sorts of other abilities. Many of the imperishable experts were able to sense many things from the information they had just received. Let me tell you something. Gu Chunsha didn't create this thing to limit the lifespan of all living beings, but rather to increase the speed at which they can evolve. Zhou Qin sighed. Look at the life sacrifice function on the interface. In other words, even the weaklings will have the ability to fight with their lives on the line, much less the likes of us. However, that's one of Gu Chencha's weaknesses. Think about it. If all living beings in heaven and earth fought Gu Chunsha with their lives on the line, would he still be able to live freely? That makes sense, Chu Chen said after a moment of thought. I never would have guessed that the interface could be used in such a way. We've always been afraid of the interface, so we haven't done much research on it. We've only focused on improving our own power. But now it seems that we can use the interface to improve our own power. In fact, we might even be able to peer into Gu Chencha's abilities. In that case, let's begin our plan. In addition to that, we'll need to contact other experts to carry out our plan. Everyone, success or failure hinges on this. If we work together, we'll definitely be able to suppress Gu Chunsha and usher in a new era. This is getting interesting. Gu Chunsha looked around at the meeting area and realized that he couldn't sense anything. Smiling, he said, "You're already beginning to gain enlightenment of the secrets I gave you? Very good. Keep up the good work." Chapter 11:22. A powerful collision. I've used up 1,000,000,000 years of my lifespan in this short amount of time? How terrifying! A long while later, Zhou Qin emerged from the unlifespan world, trembling as if he'd used up a lot of energy. In the unlifespan world, he'd sacrificed his lifespan to block Gu Chencha's senses. It had taken a lot of energy, and in the short time they'd spent discussing, he'd used up the lifespan of an undying expert. When the Dharma saint had first reached the undying level, he'd only had 1,000,000,000 years of lifespan. Of course, if my lifespan is used up, I will definitely die. This move of Gu Chench's is really ruthless. He has found a balance in this. If there is no consumption of lifespan, then the entire multivariate universe will really become a freak. However, I have also used this to capture your flaw. Once I break free from your control and steal the flaw, I will be able to have unlimited lifespan to squander. That will be the time of your death. Zhou Qin, the youth in green, could not help but sigh. However, being able to spend 1 billion years of my lifespan to block Gu Chench's senses is considered a pretty good ability. Otherwise, based on the situation in the past, this would be impossible. Whoosh! At this moment, a young man in red appeared in front of Zhou Qin. This young man was one of the 6 giants, Hong Yi. Everything's going according to plan, Hong Yi said. We're proceeding according to our initial plan. Of course, if Gu Chensha finds out, we'll have a lot of variables, Zhou Qin said. We just need to steal lifespan, Hong Yi said. Hong Yi said, Gu Chensha's interface has advantages and disadvantages. The greatest advantage is that he can burn his lifespan to do anything. As long as you have enough lifespan, you can do things we couldn't before. If we can steal an unlimited amount of lifespan, with the help of this matter, we can take another step forward. That kind of karma and loss can also be borne by Gu Chensha. When that time comes, he can only die without a burial ground. That's right. He created this enormous network, or system, that covers all living beings in the world. But every system has a loophole. As long as we take advantage of it, we can do whatever we want. Even Gu Chensha won't be able to do anything to us. Zhou Qin nodded. To be honest, we're all much stronger than other experts at the Supreme Immortal Realm. However, we're not Gu Chencha's equal opponents. If we fight one-on-one, he can kill us easily. No doubt about it. Hong Yi said, the first step we need to do is to join forces and make him feel apprehensive. He can't kill us at will. That way, our safety will be guaranteed. Right now, the 6 of us can form a formation, but I don't know if we can stop Gu Chensha. Zhou Qin's face darkened. Who would have thought that we, the most outstanding protagonists of countless eras, would end up in a situation where we can't even if we team up? That's not surprising. Times have changed, and the world has changed. Of course, the world is no longer of the same. Isn't the real world? Whether Gu Chensha exists or not is still within our calculations. Hong Yi suddenly said something that no one could understand. At his level, his way of thinking was completely different from ordinary people. This is the most profound question. I suspect that we'll have to cultivate to the so-called undying realm before we'll be able to understand this, Zhou Qin said. Let's just start stealing lifespan first. If the 6 of us join forces and activate some sort of secret art, we can instantly turn the entire multiverse into nothingness. We can even create new worlds and old worlds. Even the newly ascended lifeless world would not be able to withstand it. However, I suspect that if we do that, we will be directly killed, Hong Yi said. I don't think things will get this bad. Zhou Qin said, in those days there were 4 great gentlemen, Mr. Wu Wu, Mr. Wu Xian, Mr. Wu Wei, Mr. Wu Xiang. Gu Chensha was able to kill these 4 people, but because he was afraid of harming the innocent, he was able to kill these 4 people. He was afraid that all the worlds would be destroyed in the great battle, so he didn't kill the 4 of them. It can be seen that Gu Chencha's strength was actually very limited in the past. Now, each of us is millions of times stronger than the 4 misters combined. If he wants to easily kill the 6 of us, I'm afraid he will have to pay a great price. We can't take the risk. If we're killed, then there's no possibility of resurrection. Even in the future, we won't appear again. We'll completely disappear from this illusory world. Hong Yi said, that's why we have to plan carefully and carefully. If we can steal lifespan, then we will have truly grasped Gu Chencha's weakness. Gu Chensha has always been waiting for an extremely powerful person to come into being so that he can fight him. Zhou Qin said, so we can do some small things. As long as it is within his bottom line, he will tolerate it. If that's the case, we will create an existence that can contend against him, and perish together with him. Then, we will be the fishermen that reap the benefit. Hong Yi said, everything depends on the next plan. What plan do you have? Tell me about it. Just then, a few voices sounded out. Then, a group of people appeared in front of Zhou Qin and Hong Yi. They were Lu Baiwei, Wen Hong, Martial Sage, Zhuge Ye, Chang Weiyang, Little Godson, Long Yun, Yu Hanlu, Long Zifei, Lu Yu, Qianzhen, Zhoubu, Jiaoliang, Mo Chao, Longevity God, Tai Grandmaster, Chang Yuzhou, Tai Mingdi, and the others. Nearly 100 Undying Realm experts appeared in front of the two. They were all experts under Gu Chencha's command. They had followed Gu Chensha all the way from the Endless Mainland all the way to where they were now. The pavilion closest to the water enjoys the moonlight first. In the past 100,000 years, they had obtained the essence that Gu Chensha had comprehended, and would be able to cultivate to the undying state very soon. 100,000 years had passed, and many unknown people had cultivated to the undying realm. There was no reason for Gu Chencha's people to remain silent. Moreover, in the past 100,000 years, Gu Chensha had collected information on many people ascending to the undying realm. He could already mass-produce undying realm experts. However, he did not do so. He only imparted some knowledge to his subordinates, and some of his own insights. These subordinates of his naturally cultivated to the undying realm. In terms of accumulation, no one in the world could compare to the group of people around Gu Chensha. They were now called antiques from the previous era by the powerful existences in the multivariate universe, meaning that they were powerful existences that existed before the multivariate universe. Indeed, before the multivariate universe was formed, it was still the heaven realm of the land of infinity. It was only after the heaven realm was destroyed that the human realm was formed, and gradually became the multivariate universe. After so many years, the original living beings in the heaven realm of the land of infinity were mostly dead. There were not many antiques left, but those that were left were all existences that could penetrate the heavens and earth. Even the Dharma saint was now a powerful being of the undying realm. As time passed, the number of living beings in the land of infinity would only decrease. One must know that some of the new generation of powerful beings in the multivariate universe had already discovered that as long as they killed the ancient living beings and humans left behind in the land of infinity, they would be able to extract a lot of valuable items from them. In fact, they could even increase their lifespan, and obtain materials that could allow them to improve their cultivation base by leaps and bounds. That was the reason why the living beings in the heaven realm were so outstanding. But because of that, they became targets for others to hunt. Good. Very good. Zhou Qin and Hong Yi looked at the close to 100 undying realm powerful beings in front of them, and yet they were not afraid at all. Suddenly, Zhou Qin let out a long roar. Initially, I did not want to mess with you guys. After all, you guys have Gu Chensha as your backing. But now that you guys have come knocking on my door, there's no other way. I, Zhou Qin, have never backed down. In the future, I will be the absolute ruler. There's no such thing as Gu Chensha. We're courting death? Lu Baiwei sneered coldly. I'm afraid that you guys have colluded with the people of the undying universe and have long had your eyes on us. You guys want to take us down one by one and use us to threaten Gu Chensha, or do some other despicable things. But it doesn't matter. Since you guys are scheming against us, we might as well not fall into your trap. We'll just send ourselves right to your doorstep. Let's see if you can get your way then. Set up the formation. Boom. At Lu Baiwei's command, the close to 100 undying realm experts gathered into a formation. The people of the imperial court that Gu Chensha had led back then were all here. Some of the old officials had also become undying realms. There were the 3 dukes and 8 marquises, Zen Ishinaka, and the calming immortal department. These people were the backbone of Gu Chencha's new world. Not to mention, they were the stabilizing force. If it weren't for them, the multiverse would probably be even more chaotic right now. After all, Gu Chensha was just a bystander. He wouldn't come out to manage things. The ones managing things were Lu Baiwei and the others. Of course, Gu Chensha wouldn't interfere with what Lu Baiwei and the others did. Lu Baiwei and the others had their own ideals and thoughts. It wasn't unreasonable for them to want the multiverse to have its own rhythm. Now that Lu Baiwei and the others had gathered, it was reasonable that they wanted to test the quality of Zhou Qin and the others. After Zhou Qin and the others had appeared out of nowhere, they had practically taken advantage of all the good fortune. Apart from Gu Chensha, their cultivation bases far surpassed Lu Baiwei and the others. Lu Baiwei and the others had originally been the ones with the highest cultivation bases apart from Gu Chensha. After all, there was no one in the multiverse with more potential than her. But now that Zhou Qin and the others had appeared, they naturally had to compete. Chapter 11:23. Who is the male and female? In my opinion, all of you are trash. Zhou Qin stared coldly at these people. Lu Baiwei, Wen Hong, Zhuge Ye, they were all people with illustrious fame, people who practically reigned supreme in the heavens and earth. But in his eyes, they were no different from chickens and dogs. Other than Gu Chensha, these people were not even worth a speck of dust. Zhou Qin, these ants are actually surrounding us. Hong Yi also smiled. It seems that if we don't teach them an unforgettable lesson, they won't know how powerful we are. No need. Zhou Qin said fiercely, there's no need to teach them a lesson this time. Just kill them directly. I want to see what Gu Chensha can do to us. Anyway, we'll have to face Gu Chensha sooner or later. Blindly avoiding him is not a solution. This group of ants has come to us. If we still cower, we'll simply degrade our reputation. At this moment, Zhou Qin's entire body was filled with endless killing intent. This killing intent surged forth and condensed into something corporeal before turning into countless runes. These runes gathered together and condensed into a rain of light that filled the sky. Within the rain of light, there seemed to be another independent space-time, another multiverse. In other words, Zhou Qin's killing intent had cut off the space-time in this area, separating it from the multiverse and severing all connections. Zhou Qin, I won't do anything then. I'll let you have some practice. Squash these flies that don't know what's good for them. That way, they won't continue to grumble in front of us. Hong Yi placed his hands behind his back, seemingly unwilling to do anything. Great formation. Lu Baiwei did not pay attention to their sarcasm and ridicule. Instead, she mobilized everyone to take up positions and form a large formation. The formation took shape, and the undying aura rose steadily, almost reaching the peak of power. The formation was not very large, only a few dozen li in circumference. To the multiverse, it was even less than a speck of dust. One had to know that any star field in the universe was calculated in light years, not to mention a universe, and that was a small universe. A real super-universe couldn't be measured in units of data. Therefore, a large array with a radius of several dozen miles was really too small. However, close to 100 Undying Realm experts had set up such a formation. As soon as the formation was complete, a strange entity appeared in the middle of the formation eye. It was an eyeball. This eyeball struggled fiercely. It soared and changed, releasing many rays of light from within. Wherever the light reached, the seal would break. Buzz 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 buzz. Originally, Zhou Qin had created a spatial seal over this place. However, the eyeball that had condensed from the array eye had instantly destroyed it. The eyeball seemed to contain an inexhaustible amount of power. Deep within the eyeball were countless pupils, and between each pupil, there were different thoughts. Non-existent eye. Lu Baiyue's voice was cold and emotionless. This was a plan that they had come up with long ago. They would strike first and gain the upper hand against Zhou Qin and the others. In the past 100,000 years of research, Lu Baiyue and the others realized that Zhou Qin, Hong Yi, and the others were the most terrifying. They were even more terrifying than the Old World's will and the New World's will, Gu Xinjian. Moreover, it was very likely that they would fall at the hands of Zhou Qin and the others. No one knew where these people came from, and no one knew where they would go. They would stir up countless waves in this world, and in the end, they would pose a threat to even Gu Chernsha. Now that these people had grown up, if they didn't kill them, they might not be able to eat and sleep in peace in the future. Moreover, Lu Baiyue and the others had reached a bottleneck in their cultivation, and it was difficult for them to advance. If they wanted to advance, they would have to do something extraordinary. Right now, the extraordinary thing was to fight against extremely dangerous beings. In the All Heavens, only Zhou Qin and the other 5 people could pose a threat to Lu Baiyue and the others. Apart from them, even the Old World's will and the New World's will, Gu Xinjian, didn't have this ability, let alone Lin Yixuan, who wasn't from the Old World, or Chu Chen, who was from the Longevity World. In fact, apart from Gu Chernsha, the strongest people in the multiverse were Zhou Qin, Wang Chao, Hong Yi, Fang Han, Yang Qi, and Jiang Li, the 6 absolute protagonists. These 6 people had the ability to overturn creation and were invincible in the universe. They could transform heaven and earth and twist fate. Their power wasn't cultivated, but was innate. Their mystiques had actually surpassed a portion of the multiverse. In front of them, the multiverse seemed insignificant. It was precisely because of this that it was challenging. Only then could they stimulate all their potential and unleash the strongest power. They could raise the cultivation of Lu Baiyue and the others to a terrifying realm. What? Zhou Qin was slightly surprised to see an eyeball appear in the formation, and the light it emitted actually broke his seal. Then, a cruel smile appeared on his face. In that case, your resistance has piqued my interest. You're just a bunch of useless chickens and pottery dogs. Even if you join forces, you won't be able to withstand a single blow. Break. Rumble. Zhou Qin made a grabbing motion with his hand. Instantly, his palm exploded out, turning into a gigantic mountain that blotted out the sky. The universe trembled because of it. Under the power of this palm, all life force disappeared, and all the paths of survival were transformed into destruction. Creak, creak. The formation formed by nearly 100 supreme, immortal realm experts was actually on the verge of collapse. Terrifying. This person is truly terrifying. Zhuge Ye sat in the middle of the formation, activating his supreme, immortal realm power. This formation was something they had planned long ago. All the supreme immortal realm experts had arranged it for a long time, repeatedly calculating the strongest power they could unleash. Originally, he thought he could suppress any one of Zhou Qin, Wang Chao, Hong Yi, Fang Han, Yang Qi, Jiang Li, or any one of them. But now, it seemed that the other party was in danger of breaking the formation with just a wave of his hand. He immediately knew that his plan might have deviated a little. However, deviating a little from the plan was within their expectations. Immediately wake up the second plan. Lu Baiyue didn't even think, her eyes frighteningly calm. Crack. Immediately, everyone activated some sort of incantation. This incantation was incomparably desolate, as if it was the deepest curse or musical note from the primordial desolate era. Woo woo woo, mournful wails rang out as the power changed and the color of the world changed. Another eyeball appeared within the formation core of the great magic array. This eyeball was exactly the same as the previous one. When the 2 eyeballs came together, their power instantly doubled. Next, the rays of light from the eyeballs fused together to form an overwhelming ocean, which instantly destroyed the gigantic hand that Zhou Qin had sent out. How dare you! Zhou Qin seemed to be enraged. He suddenly stood up straight, an endless true essence of destruction appeared in his body. His hands moved, as if he was tearing something apart. His footsteps were like dragons and tigers, and as he trampled, he exploded with the strongest killing intent. He clenched his fists, and the power of his fists was indescribable. It was as if the multiverse was trembling in front of his fists, about to collapse. All living beings knelt before his iron fists, completely submitting. All of you kneel. Zhou Qin was enraged. In his rage, he would destroy all living beings. His fists continuously smashed toward the center of the formation, and his aura rose endlessly. Everyone in the multiverse seemed to feel that doomsday was coming, especially those experts in the heavenly Tao realm, who felt that a great catastrophe was about to befall them. At this moment, this mysterious Zhou Qin finally erupted with his true strength. With just this one punch, ordinary experts in the undying realm might be killed in one hit. For example, if the Dharma Saint were to fight Zhou Qin now, he wouldn't even need to use his fist. With a flick of his fingers, the Dharma Saint might be annihilated. Activate again. Squeeze out all the power of your spirit. The martial saint let out a long roar, as if the more pressure Zhou Qin exerted on him, the more comfortable he felt. This guy is indeed powerful. He can pressure us enough, and even threaten us with death. But that's exactly why he's so valuable. After all these years, ever since we reached the undying realm, no one has been able to threaten us with death. That's why we can't stimulate more of the power in our hearts. We've long known that the power in our hearts is limitless, and what we lack is a medium to squeeze it out. Now that we don't have any threat, it's only natural that we can't squeeze it out. Zhou Qin and the others are the best tools for us to do so. That's right. Zhou Qin and the others are actually this strong. Thankfully, we've made plenty of preparations. This is a battle of life and death, and also a battle to temper ourselves. If Zhou Qin wasn't our opponent, we wouldn't have been able to improve at all. Chang Weiyang's expression was somewhat excited. A long time ago, when Chang Weiyang was still in the land of infinity and presiding over the mystic gate of the universe, she already had the courage to destroy everything. She didn't even care about the heaven's will, let alone life and death. Otherwise, she wouldn't have become an outlier. Now that she had reached the undying realm, her heart hadn't changed at all. Instead, it had become even firmer, and she wasn't afraid of anything. When it came to powerful existences, her first priority was to learn, and second, to surpass. Even if it was Gu Chensha, it was the same for her. All these years of hardship had forged her innate ability to output power. The power of one's spirit was limitless, but the channels of output were limited. A person's cultivation base was all about expanding the channels of output, so that they could utilize more of their spirit power. Whoever could output more, and with more ferocity, would have a stronger cultivation base. That was the cultivation method Gu Chensha had created. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.